But I think the development of full artificial intelligence would spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
With a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0.
Doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Good evening, and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. That's the Underground Media Network. Tonight, we're going to get weird, per usual. Now, as usual, everybody knows that it's the season of Samhain as we march inexorably on toward Halloween, as I'm always saying, right, in the month of October. However, the one thing remains that the veil is thinning. That's what we're told. These are the old ideas. We feel it in the air. Things change, and it's based on the harvest and all the stuff that we already do know. But the thing that gets me and always brings me back to these conversations and these ideas is not what we do know. It's, of course, the things we don't know. And that's what tonight's show is about. As usual, sort of living on the fringe of ideas, the fringe of, I don't know, the fringe of human knowledge, the fringe of, well, as everything comes together into a singular space. And that's exactly the point tonight, because we're looking at, let's say, think of haunted objects, okay? Think of this old trope of Annabelle the doll and, not just haunted spaces, but in places, but the rocking chair that's, sort of has the resonant energy left over from grandma or somebody that's passed on in a house, or energy that kind of sticks around in a house that seems very human, very ghost-like. It just seems very spooky overall, okay? Well, I was thinking about it, and I think there's a larger conversation to be had here, because as usual, there's not just your typical ghost story, but there's something that's really been talked about and kicked around through not just cosmic horror, including, of course, H.P. Lovecraft, but many other ideas in terms of the idea of forbidden knowledge. Now, if we take something like Annabelle the doll, who okay, before I even start and get too deep into this, as usual, there's no truth to be found here. These are conceptual thoughts. These are ideas. If you're here for truth, you're in the absolute wrong place. This is just sort of looking at folklore, mythology, modern tropes of old ideas, and the future and where we're headed in terms of hyper-reality. That's what all these shows are always about. So don't take any of this for gospel. Don't even take any of it as truth. And just keep an open mind in terms of it. And as I like to call it, I remembered the term the other day that I tried to use a couple weeks back, and I couldn't remember it, but it's conspiracy speculation theater, okay? Metaphysics for the mind and all the rest, okay? So, okay. Now back to Annabelle and these haunted objects, these ghost stories, haunted objects, and how this fits into tonight, is that it's one thing to say that something like Annabelle or a haunted object is haunted, but it's another thing entirely to consider the edges of knowledge in terms of something like not Annabelle per se or the haunted rocking chair, but instead something like the infamous Lovecraftian book or tome or grimoire, the Necronomicon. Now, the Necronomicon, of course, if I can say it properly, is this. Let me read the little thing here, because this is probably better than me trying to fumble through it. Weird fiction author H.P. Lovecraft created a mythology that includes bizarre monsters, troubled communities, insane scholars, and a library of books filled with forbidden lore, which is what we're going to talk about tonight, the library of books and the forbidden lore. Of all the books detailing this mythology that Lovecraft mentions in his fiction, one in particular captures the imagination more than any other: the Necronomicon. According to Lovecraft, it's a tome filled with secrets and rituals that can drive a reader to the brink of insanity. In reality, the Necronomicon doesn't exist, though more than half a dozen books with the title are available at bookstores, because, of course, you know how people do things. They rip off ideas and pass them off as their own. Which, by the way, all the ideas we're talking about tonight are linked in the description down below, so if you want to go follow up on the threads where these ideas came from, I encourage you to do so, pretty please. Anyway, so this is not real. It's not a real book, but it is an interesting aspect of what we're talking about tonight, because it is at the edge of actual forbidden knowledge. And tonight I'm calling it, of course, yes, indeed, the Networked Necronomicon, Limits of Forbidden Knowledge. And so as we begin, the question for you guys tonight, the very first question, and probably the most pressing question that'll go through the evening here, is, do you think there is a limit to knowledge itself? That's the question. Is there a limit? Is there such a thing as knowing too much about the universe you live in, where it becomes dangerous to understand the true secrets of the underlying base reality? And that is what's on my mind tonight. Let me read a little bit from this blurb. The blurb is very good if you're interested. We got James coming on in just a sec, of course, a paranormal expert at Troubled Minds. But let me read this, the first paragraph or two, and we'll take a break and we'll be right back. But let me read this. Academic pursuit has always carried a certain hubris. The belief that knowledge, regardless of its nature or origin, should be dragged into the light of rational inquiry. Yet, what happens when that knowledge was deliberately buried? When ancient texts were hidden not out of ignorance, but out of wisdom born from terrible experience. The scholar who stumbles upon forbidden manuscripts in dusty archives may believe they're advancing human understanding, but they might instead be completing a ritual that began centuries ago. And that's where we start. And so that is the question. And of course, I don't know. There's, this is a sort of a cosmic question that you really can't have an answer to directly. However, it's interesting to think about what that limit is. And if there is sort of a barrier in place or some level of metaphysical law, as we've talked about in the past, that sort of allows human knowledge only to a certain aspect. Or can we sort of do the D&D ascension thing and become gods ourselves in terms of what we understand, how our knowledge of the universe grows and is exponential, and then becomes, of course, as we've talked about quite a lot on this show, a Kardashev 2 or even Kardashev 3 civilization. And that becomes the question, because to us, mere mortals at this point, humans on Earth, a Kardashev 2 civilization would be like gods to us, demigods or whatever. A Kardashev 3 civilization would be like the simulator, would be like the architect, would be like the monad god himself, however you want to define that. And so I do wonder about not just information, but the information as it accelerates and we gain and grow more and more, and what it means for us, not just now, but in the future. And I'll tease this and we'll come back to this in a second, but the narrative here heavily lies on forbidden knowledge, of course, but not just forbidden knowledge, but in the last few years, we've been tracking this ourselves, that there's something happening with the restoration and digitization of the Vatican Library. Yeah, so this is happening. So if you think about forbidden knowledge in the Necronomicon, surely if it existed, at least in some conceptual metaphorical form, it would be in the Vatican Secret Library. And what they're doing currently, as we're told, they're going through this information and digitizing it for the world to see. And we've been through some of this, I've spent some time digging on what they've released and whatnot. And of course, I don't speak Italian, I don't speak Latin. And so it's really difficult for somebody like me that's, not a multilinguist and all the rest of that, a scholar of my entire life of these ancient ways, to kind of untangle what this stuff means. However, it doesn't mean it's impossible. So there you go. We'll get back and talk about this in just a second. But first, let's get a word from our sponsor. In this case, let's go with, one more time, this Stoic Mindset. Let's go with Jack. And again, thanks again for supporting the show, you guys. I appreciate it very much. Be right back. More Troubled Minds in exactly 1 minute. Absolutely don't go anywhere. We got James coming up next, and we're taking your calls tonight as well. Be right back. Feeling stressed? Overwhelmed? In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get swept away by our emotions. Take a breath and find your inner strength with the Stoic Minute.
You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength.
The ancient Stoic philosophers understood that we can't control everything in life, but we can control how we react.
The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts.
Focus on what you can influence. Cultivate a positive mindset and let go of what you can't change. Find your inner strength. Live each day with courage, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Embrace the Stoic virtues and find peace within. The Stoic Minute, brought to you by Jack in Oregon. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Let us continue, shall we? And yes, I'm not actually glitching out in front of your eyes. This is a filter to look scary for scary seasons. So if you see a skeleton on the screen, yes, indeed, it is actually me. Okay, so now back to this. Now, the restoration digitization of the Vatican Library is underway. It's been happening for a few years, and they're talking about actually parsing this with AI, as usual, right? AI kind of steps to the forefront of all sort of data synchronization, of parsing the data, of trying to find hidden patterns in information we've had forever. Now, in this case, this is not really an AI show tonight, so everybody can relax and sit down and take a deep breath. But it does play heavily on the future. And so I do wonder, when you start to draw the actual information out of the Vatican archive, or what kind of shocking stuff they have buried beneath their vaults, the kilometers big, massive underground tunnels there, it makes me wonder if we're ever going to see all of the information. And if, let's say that clearly they are redacting data, they're only releasing what they think the world is prepared to see. How weird does that get? And do you think that, let's say, the metaphorical idea of the Necronomicon itself actually exists with forbidden knowledge in real, true books beneath the Vatican itself? That's what's on my mind tonight. Just a quick, simple intro here. And as usual, we're taking your calls tonight. I think I fixed the phone line. Cross your fingers for me, for us. 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being patient. James Salcido, the paranormal expert at Troubled Minds. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you? Go right ahead.
I'm okay. Hopefully you can hear me all right.
Yes, sir. I saw you do a quick dip and come back as you updated your Discord. Pro as always. You sound great. Welcome to the joint.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was not showing any chat anywhere. And I was thinking, oh, that's going to be a problem. But yeah, which is kind of funny when you think about the topic tonight in a way, too. It was hiding information from me. But
digital information from you.
Sorry?
Digital information from you. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, yeah. So I had to restart it, and luckily it allowed it this time. So, but yeah, this makes me think of course, you mentioned in the very beginning there, haunted objects. There's the one that a lot of people know about is of course Annabelle, but there's also Robert the Doll. But this idea of objects containing energy and even consciousness does go back quite a ways. Whether it's residual or not, whether it's actual consciousness in a present sense. And this does not stop with dolls or household objects. I mean, this can go to books. I do think that certain books have become famous throughout time. Again, that Necronomicon is a great example of that, because it's not real, and yet it's become so popular in the minds of people over the years who are into this kind of fiction, this kind of sci-fi horror, that eventually people did make their own versions of it, or fictional versions of it in their own things. It was actually referenced in a movie that is terrible, but also good because it's so terrible. Army of Darkness. I don't know if you ever saw that one or not.
Yeah, parts of it. I've never seen the whole thing. It's one of those ones I've been scolded, kind of like Beetlejuice, like I should have watched it 10 times or something.
I don't know if you have to watch it 10 times, but once would probably be good. But I will just say it is, that book is actually, it's in that movie, for part of the movie. So it is a source of a lot of power in that movie. So I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's and this whole idea of recognize the metaphors here, the archetypes in play is, of course, in this case, the Necronomicon does sort of push toward that idea of forbidden knowledge, that once you learn it in that Lovecraftian way, the madness itself becomes you. You cannot escape it. You learn things that mortals were never meant to know or understand. And suddenly, just like spotting Cthulhu himself, it's just too massive of an idea for our minds to conceive of, that it's instant madness. And so this whole idea, to me, I do wonder, like, how deep this sort of metaphor goes, right? How deep this forbidden knowledge goes. And you go back to the Temple of Solomon. He was said to have this magic ring, and he was able to summon these demons, the jinn, or demons of old, from the Goetic demons. And so there's like this massive ancient sort of space where these entities reside. At least, again, whether you believe those old stories or not, it's irrelevant, because we're talking in metaphor here. But the point is that this is not a new trope. This is not a new idea of ancient knowledge being able to humans able to overcome this with, of course, some divine presence behind them, some divine backing, but also beyond that, be able to sort of draw energy from the ether, energy from the other world that that exists within us and among us, and create something positive out of it back to the Temple of Solomon. I don't know. It's a weird batch of stories here that kind of come together to make this narrative, but it is one of those things that makes me scratch my chin and wonder what the hell is going on and how much can we actually learn about the universe we live in. Fire stuff, James. What else you got?
Yeah, this is making me think of how I've heard and read of it in rare cases where people who, some people, and I do think it's a small amount. Some people who will take in certain content, paranormal content, and it can be fiction or it can be nonfiction. Once they do, they start having experiences. And a lot of times it's as the movie or documentary. A lot of times it's actually fiction, horror movies. They'll have experiences that they'll write about online. And now at first you see that and you think, oh, that's terrifying. And it is, but also if you think about the number of people that have watched any given horror movie, it's obviously not happening to everyone who watches every paranormal horror movie out there, because otherwise then we'd have a flood of those reports, and we don't overall. But it's still there, and so I wonder about that with, again, ancient texts and all those things. So real quick, I actually did a series of shows on my podcast, Salcedo Paranormal, which I don't like to plug, but it's relevant here in this conversation, where I reviewed a book all about ancient grimoires and all those things. And there were large parts of it that I did not summarize, that I did not go over, because they were about how to summon different entities, different consciousness. And I did not want to put that out there. But at the same time, I did get it summarized and read it before I decided not to put it out there. So again, it does make you wonder, did anything happen? Did anything not happen? Can anything happen? I have no idea.
Yeah, it's a good point. So one of the things that as you guys know, I'm deeply into AI, at least in terms of experimenting with it. Again, I'm not an apologist or I'm an esoteric futurist, if you want to label anything. And so I'm trying to sort of bridge the past with the future. And this is a big part of what this show's about. But I do recognize there are drawbacks to AI. They're great productivity tools. And I have a point here, so hang with me for just a second. But the point I am making is that as things change quickly, and things are changing very quickly, you can trust me on that. Following the AI stuff very closely, you start to see daily new releases of all manner of things, open sourced and local, and you don't have to be online and all the rest of it. But in the early days, I created this robot that was based on exactly what James is talking about. This it was like not robot like physical, like a chat bot that was built on every ancient grimoire I could find, and old PDFs. And it basically, if you asked it how to summon a particular demon or something, it would tell you. It would just pull it up from the source material that I fed it to teach it, to learn on, and it would literally tell you how to do these things. And I was like, back then it was sort of an early decision of mine to not release that at all, because there are, the AI psychosis stuff happening, the LLM psychosis that's happening without any of that. Like, people are literally succumbing to ideas without even, summoning entities. And so I think it was a good decision not to release it. It still exists. I can still access it, but it is not something I will release publicly. And now it's trivial to make it. I'm sure somebody else has done it. But it's an odd thing to consider that old information might be forbidden in the sense that it was hidden for reasons, or at least redacted for reasons. And so anyway, it's interesting how all the ideas come together in a single space. And here we are talking about it. What else you got, James? As you know, about 3 minutes left. If you got anything else, go right ahead.
Yeah. So there's also, this reminds me, it's not an area of the comics I'm super familiar with, but in Marvel, they have this ancient book card called the Darkhold. And just the pages of it are supposed to have a lot of power. That's something in fiction and comics and the animated shows and movies. You see all these superheroes and superpowered people and things, but and then you have the people that have technology that puts them on the same level. But then you have a whole other group of people that is into all the ancient knowledge, all of what you might call magic in general. And they're able, because of the things they found and learned, and again, in this fictional environment, they're able to basically go head to head with other beings who have their own actual physical power, and have battles and not get instantly taken out. In some cases, do even better than the superheroes or supervillains that have powers. So it's a fascinating topic. But I have a link I'll put in the chat later on here for that page, a summary of that Darkhold, and you can check it out here in a little bit as well if you want to. So, but yeah, it's a fascinating topic, and again, technology is, I mean, the availability of documents is becoming, easier and easier to find wherever you want to online if you know how to look and where to look and spend enough time doing it.
Exactly right. Well said, all of that. And again, we're talking, this is an archetype. This is the archetype of forbidden knowledge itself. And of course, encapsulated in the one idea that Lovecraft had of the Necronomicon, which is fake. It's not real. Again, you can buy sort of phony versions of people that have written these things and put them on the internet and sell them on Amazon and whatnot. But it's not a real book. It is a representation of forbidden knowledge itself. Now, let me read this little bit too. That this is just a second paragraph from the write-up. Again, check out the write-up, Troubled Minds newsletter. It's at troubledminds.org. But here you go. And as James was saying, this actually fits into exactly what James was saying, and then we'll take a break. The mechanics of consciousness manipulation through symbolic systems reveal themselves most clearly in the structure of spellcasting itself. Every magical working requires three components: the verbal incantation that programs the conscious mind, the somatic gesture that engages the body's energy channels, again, Tai Chi or hand waving, think Doctor Strange, and the material focus that anchors the intention in physical reality, and that could be spell components and the rest of that. The academic poring over medieval grimoires isn't just reading. They're unconsciously performing these exact components, their eyes tracing patterns that serve as incantations, their hands moving across pages in gestures that mirror ancient somatic practices, their scholarly tools becoming material focuses in workings they don't recognize or even understand. And that's what's on my mind tonight. Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. We got more from James. We got your calls as well. What do you know about the limits of forbidden knowledge? Is it possible as a mere mortal in this universe to know too much information? Or is this an archetypal nonsense? 702-957-1037. I'm Michael Strange. This is Troubled Minds. Be right back. More on the way.
Whispers through the stacks, cursed manuscripts glow bright, casting shadows on the facts. Click your hands, reach out, beg and plead to be seen. Echoes of the past, where the living once had been. Pages turning soft, words feel so alive. Digital magic sparks, making ancient texts revive. Haunted screens, they flicker bright, cursed echoes in the pale moonlight. Digital ghost dance in despair, can't escape this magic snare. Fingers trace the lines as I feel them draw near. Tales of woe and power, infecting every sphere. Ancient voices whisper, pulling me within. With the lost is found again, look where do I begin? Stories come alive, but at a heavy price. In this haunted space, I've rolled the cursed dice. Haunted screens, they flicker bright, cursed echoes in the pale moonlight. Digital ghosts dance in despair, can't escape this magic snare. In the depths of the night, shadows break the norm. I'm caught in this dance, can't escape the storm. Ancient words call out, beyond no right control. Will I find my way, or lose my very soul? Haunted streets, they flicker bright, cursed echoes in the pale moonlight. Digital ghosts dance in despair, can't escape this magic snare.
First time I heard that, I thought he said you can't escape this magic smell. He said snare. I was like, what magic smell could be that? What's up, Ricky? Congratulations on your daughter there getting married. That's a beautiful picture. What's up, Gaston? We got Roving Fungus, Dragon Rose. How you doing, Linda? Joe in Florida, who's on the phone. He'll come up next. We got Don, Jorge, Sweets, APOC, Daryl, and Hirsch. I see you guys. Thanks for being cool and chill and showing up and being enthusiastic about the ideas and conversations. What's up over DTM Gets First on YouTube? How you doing? We got Ricky. Anything is possible. Good evening, guys. Hello, hello. What is going on, Mr. Mission Control? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. It's in the Necronomicon, bro. What's going on? Fred is here. Good evening. Hello, hello. We got Bim Jim. Welcome back. It's been a minute. Welcome to the joint. Our current mainstream science says that there are 10 to the 22nd habitable planets. What is the probability that only one of these planets would have an intelligent space? Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. Good evening, good evening. Thanks for hanging out, Harry the Cat. I see you there. If I missed anybody, just say hi as we go. I'll say hi back. Over to Rumble, always bumping in the chat. Thanks again for being cool and chill and being nice to each other. Like I said, Gordo got first tonight. What's up, Raz is here. What's up, Hiker? Hello, hello. We've got Talmud Terry. Welcome back. Ricky is there as well. What's going on, guys? Raz, hello, hello. Good evening, good evening. I hope you're well tonight. Why? Yep, you scared me. Yeah. You like the skeleton face? All right, Theo is here. Good evening, guys. The real Jason Barker. Here we go. Troubled Minds happening right about now. If I missed you, I'll circle back and say hi. Puff is here. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, is it possible that technology could serve as a modern conduit for curses, rituals, or consciousnesses that once required physical artifacts? What if the leap from ink to binary isn't just a matter of preservation, but a catalyst for awakening something powerful and completely unexpected in the world of information and, of course, the mind itself? And that's the important part here. Like I said, whether you believe demons are real or not, or whether you believe sort of dangerous ideas exist in the realm of human, the human lexicon of thought, is irrelevant because this stuff affects us regardless. Okay. And just like a scary story can kind of, spook you and even unsettle you if you see something like The Exorcist on TV, that old movie, the original sort of OG scare your socks off movie, then certainly you understand that the mind space is fertile ground for scaring the hell out of us. And not just because of these old ideas of possession and demons and all the scary stuff that kind of exists as part of it, but also the unknown. Shout out to James here. I'll give him a sec to respond as well here. But meaning that everything doesn't have to be evil and demons. The unknown itself is scary enough. And that, at least in terms of we don't know what comes next, technology-wise and all the rest of it. And that's one of the things that Lovecraft was really touching on with that cosmic horror, is he was suggesting that the things that are out there are so deep and so ancient that we will have a hard time comprehending exactly what they mean. We cannot put them into human terms. And so the unknown itself doesn't have to be evil. It could be indifferent, but also terrifying nonetheless, or exhilarating, or inspiring, you name it, as usual. It doesn't have to always be negative. Of course, it does get the clicks, the doom cycles, and all the rest of it. But that's what's on my mind tonight. Welcome back. I hope you guys are doing well. Just talking the network Necronomicon. James, anything you want to add to that? I know you probably got something to say because I wheeled the bowling ball right into your lane there. Welcome back. How you doing? Go right ahead.
Yeah, and the thing is too with so many of this, the unknown, it can include positive forces that can still be frightening or at least startling when you encounter them. Especially if they make any kind of display of a lot of light or just an enormous consciousness that is just all around someone. It doesn't have to be evil, like you said, for it to be powerful. and still frightening, even if after it's all done, you're glad you had this experience. I've heard of this with apparitions or ghosts, and with other beings, some people would consider angels, protectors, just any number of beings out there that people have encountered, whether they mean to or not. In some cases, they try to make contact, and they're able to somehow. So yeah, it's not always about the other being negative. It's just about it being powerful and us not being prepared for that kind of level of power.
Exactly right. The unknown can also be equally inspiring and terrifying in the same breath and sentence, which is the point. What do you guys know about this? We're talking the networked Necronomicon, limits of forbidden knowledge. How weird does it get? And do you think there are things in this universe or in this multiverse, dare we suggest, the many worlds theory and beyond? Is there information so dangerous that humans should not stumble across it? And if there is, does it exist on this earth? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Very nice, James. Great stuff. Let's go to Joe in Florida. I got him on the line twice here, so I'm not sure what's going on. Let's talk to him and see if this works, and if not, we'll adapt, and I'll drop the other call. Joe in Florida. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? Go right ahead.
So I've heard the beep, so that means you probably can hear me, right?
I can hear you loud and clear. I'm going to drop your other call because you're on the phone line twice here.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I was getting out of my truck and picking everybody up in the Bluetooth, I think, and I couldn't hear the phone, and pretty sure I hung up. But anyway, good topic of belief like we have. You know, when you mentioned grimoires, and I'm driving home, and I got my family in the car. But anyway, Mom being older, obviously, and everything, we both kind of looked at each other and we're thinking Ouija board as a quicker way than reading a spell, if that makes sense. You know, the power of intention, and the power of intention for multiple people. If one person reads something out of a book, and we've said it on the show, spelling is, you know, the spell is in the word for spelling, you know, and incantations and belief. And maybe when you're on a Ouija board, I know that I use it. My parents used it when they were, when I was younger, but it was always just a little bit creepy to use that and have that going on, you know. So when you look at that and beliefs, and then when you look at technology, I definitely believe, and I'm going to try to give you an example. This might bother some people in the crowd, you know, but if I took the 7 deadly sins, and let's say somebody became that, they might just become full of madness and be mad. But let's just say we had a leader that it's all in the name, right? When you play cards and you have a certain card, you beat everybody else in that card. Okay? And let's look at the news. And despite what the last leader did, we still had 8 years of the same bull crap from the first leader. And now we're having that again. So then I start to believe what we would say useful idiots has been used. So there's some people at the top that understand these secrets, you would have to think. And then you have the people at the bottom that are the idiot. You know, I don't want to offend anybody, but that maybe are a little bit more in the cult. I can understand if some of us are in the middle, because my beliefs are coming in the middle, and I'm kind of like, whatever. But we know that there's extremism out there on both sides, okay? But we're being fed this energy every day. And the cult gives it power, and it almost takes a mind of its own. The golem, I guess, would be the best tulpa to use is a golem. It's kind of a meandering thing, because right now, if you wanted to, I don't know if it's a good analogy, if it's even the right word, but the soul of this country is kind of drifting into something scary in real life. we're sinking into that. You want to believe it, you don't want to believe it. And you don't believe it because it's not knocking on your door. Hopefully it doesn't. But the sins that we have right now, I would say maybe it's narcissism and glutton, which reminds me of the Four Horsemen. And whether you have a Necronomicon or a Book of Destruction or Demons or anything, at the end of the Bible, which everybody knows, that appears at some point in the future. And dare I say, I have to use that book as an example. There's a good group of us, not a good group of us, there's a bad group of us that are stumbling into, or want us to stumble into, Megiddo or Armageddon. I mean, we saw it a couple of weeks ago with that pastor from Africa somewhere that was saying the rapture was going to come. And they believed it so much, and it didn't, but I really wish they would believe it enough that it'd all go away so I could have some peace and quiet on a Sunday or whatever day it is. Right? But they did it, which is a scary thing. Either way you look at it, because blind belief makes us do bad things. Do we blame it on magic? I don't know. Oh, by the way, on a side note, I'm not totally focused tonight because I've just been doing a million things up to the minute. If I could get the video from the castle, there's a video of the bar going on while the club is open, and there's a bottle of amaretto. It's on my Facebook somehow. I don't know how to download it or anything, but looking at the video, and I'm thinking it's music based or something, but no, this bottle was like clearly, on the bar, structured, and the bottle just like exploded, like tipped over, like exploded, and they were saying like it's a haunting. On a side note, but when it comes back to belief, maybe this time around, whatever's out there doesn't want to destroy us because destruction is not good, right? It would need us alive to get that energy, and maybe slightly on the hilt of madness. And we've been mad in the past over magic. Technically, this is popping in my head. I mean, we have fought over religion more times in history, I think, than anything else. So, radical religion, fervent religion, whatever you want to call it, we have fought over magic, whose sky god was best. And that was your sacrifice to the blood god. I mean, but that was madness. To kill the way people have killed in the past, to draw and quarter people, to think of torture devices, to think of all of that. How are we know that we're capable of doing that evil, right? I mean, if you saw that video, the Depeche Mode video, the Stargate remix of Send Your Personal Jesus about the witch hunts, we know that people are that bad. Maybe we blame it on a demon or this or that, if such things exist. And maybe they do if our Creator made us that way, if it's just part of human nature, unfortunately, right? Electricity separates us from the animals, we would say, right? I know it's a lot, but...
No, you're good. I saw that, by the way. If you guys haven't joined the Discord, please do. Joe shared that Personal Jesus Depeche Mode video. It's called the Stargate Mix. It is like an unbelievable 5-minute short film, and it's like when I saw it was called the Stargate Mix, and it was like witchcraft and the persecutions and all the rest of that. It's a very Troubled Minds video. But if you haven't joined the Discord, pop in and come say hi. TroubledMinds.org. Click the Discord link on top. Joe, let me add this to what you're saying there. And I know you're describing sort of religious wars and the rest of that, which has basically been our legacy past, okay? The legacy humanity. Interestingly, I was doing a deep dive on this, kind of looking at the numbers, and over the past week, kind of casually on and off, just learning, I'm always learning stuff, always learning about things I've wanted to and never had the time. And in this case, it's changed in sort of the last 150 or 200 years from sort of that religious aspect of, grinding people to the blood god or whatever. Instead, it's turned into sort of a secular authoritarianism that's resulted in the same thing. I mean, they say 100 million dead over the last, 100 years, 150 years. to the secular communist regime. So I mean, it's I think as usual you can look at it in terms of a human is smart, a group of humans are panicky. What was that? Shout out James, the quote from Men in Black, right? Panicky, ridiculous, prone to superstition and all kinds of ridiculous stuff. But anyway, go ahead.
No, so then, and you're right. I mean, you could say in communism, at least they're not lying. They don't even want religion around, right? They're just doing it because maybe they're just one step ahead of us, right? Maybe they're like, yeah, whatever. You know, we can't have people worshiping an outside power. This is going to be their reality. It's going to be, you're going to do what the government says. It's going to be naked power. It's not going to be hidden in books. It's not going to be opium for the masses, right? So yeah, you're not incorrect. I'd like to think that if the rumors of Roddenberry seeing the future were true, and if we look at that typical TV show that Roddenberry spawned so many shows, AI, I mean, aside from you have a droid, you have data, you have a droid, and you have things running around, but you don't have an interactive AI. I mean, they do say computer extrapolate this or extrapolate that, but whatever machines are using in the background don't seem like they're free to think for themselves or to maybe manipulate something out of the quantum reality that I've once in a while heard that AI supposedly does. I don't know. Spooky action, whatever you want to call it. But I'm wondering if there was a reason for that. I mean, there's science fiction cartoons and novels and TV shows. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but well, I should say Battlestar Galactica, a remake where the machines believe in a god. How much more scary would that be? I mean, it's scary that we believe in, you know, I have to believe in something. I should say truthful nihilism, whatever you want to say, recovering Catholic, you know. But if I'm going to believe in something, I would believe in the idea of Jesus or Buddha. Not that they were maybe living people, but at least the idea of that tulpa or that idea of being better and being peaceful and sticking up for the poor, trying to call that out of your heart, trying to call that out of the universe, trying to make that better. You know, last week, and maybe I am off on a tangent, but this does get into belief, how we live our lives every day. But last week when the video came out of all of those people lifting up the helicopter that crashed on the road, okay, that's the best of what we should be. And it almost wants to tear me up now. And I saw it a couple of times. And in between the shitty news cycle that we get, you get a video of people pulling out of the highway, lifting up a helicopter to get the aeromatics out of that damn helicopter. And that's the potential of what we can be.
Yeah, I did see that video, and that's once again, look, put your phone down. If people are around you like on fire or something, would you please help them? Like, take your shirt off and help pat the fire out. I mean, it's very simple, and these are you know, stop, drop, and roll type stuff that we learned ages ago as kids, at least as Gen X kids. And so suddenly it's like, no, hey, check out, I'm gonna go viral on TikTok because I watched this guy burn instead. I mean, it's ridiculous the place we've come from. Some level of common sense. It's slipping. It's unraveling. And so, yeah, I don't know. Well said.
It totally is.
Go ahead.
And that's the big too. So if you want to, you opened up the show and you just let me know another point, which I think everybody probably hit everybody already in the head with the word you just said, unraveling. If we're looking into the mouth of madness, technology seems to be accelerating that.
I think that's a fact, 100%, which is why I always talk about it the way I do, sort of cautiously optimistic, but we need to be head on a swivel and not be duped by deep fakes and all the stuff we're always considering here. You're right.
It is, we are looking into the mouth of madness. And again, there's examples from science, you know, from science fiction writers, from all of that, from the War of the Worlds. And I always bring that up because before the truth hit, some people supposedly killed themselves because they thought it was a real alien invasion. Now, exactly, you're right. Look at AI. You know, look at AI. You know, if I could get past the boobs in AI and look at the hands might be messed up. And then I'm like, okay, what is this, right? So it is geared to feed you. It is geared to keep you in that echo chamber like we so fondly talk about. You know, you can't even believe your own eyes now, right? So we're going into madness. And how much can a human experience, you know, take? You know, the beginning of the show, I just kept thinking of Event Horizon. I kept thinking of the movie Event Horizon. You know, whatever happened to that ship, that movie, in the Event Horizon, going into another dimension. I mean, sometimes I think when it comes back down to it, you know, full circle, ghost stories, haunted objects, I think it's not impossible to infect something with negative energy. I just think it's harder to notice when it is all over the world, when that resonance is all over the world. I mean, our experience as individual in the house, if I see an object fall or I feel a weird sensation, we could say that maybe, yes, this object's haunted, or this happened, or I called the poltergeist and they didn't know it, because, as James says, we watched movies and had experiences. Now, whether we dreamt out them or had such fear from those movies, like I know Poltergeist scared the crap out of me when I saw it, right?
Me too.
And so did, so did Close Encounters. It didn't really scare me, Close Encounters, but it opened a door somewhere in your mind when you were still able to be a kid and believe such things that maybe led us to here. Because maybe being slightly paranoid and still maybe open-minded kind of keeps you saying, is that really what I'm seeing? Is this really, maybe we're more attuned to the underlying frequency? Not by much, because I'd like to win the lottery numbers, right? Not by much, but maybe we are attuned just a little bit more. Maybe that gut feeling that we get, you know, comes out just a little bit more, right? So that's it. I've been long-winded, but I wrote a quick bunch of notes in like 5 minutes, you know, and I just put down like whatever that blood god is needs us alive. Every once in a while when there's a war, it is a sacrifice for the blood god, whatever that might be. You know, there's all useful idiots, the Vatican, who knows what the Vatican's going to put. The Vatican, probably a lot of that, again, is probably going to be alien encounters if they're looking at the Old Testament, if you want to get into magic books and things, right? So whatever the Vatican's putting, it would be interesting to see, and would we ever know, once again, are we really getting the truth out of the Vatican? And would the truth bring us large scale? Again, madness. Madness. We wouldn't be able to handle it without opening up the rest of our brains and the rest of our IQ. Right? To be a god would be to exist in 2 or 3 or 4 places at once. I hate to use the movie tropes and all of that, but yes, if there's multi-dimension, quantum things, our brain, you know, we couldn't handle that. We couldn't handle looking into that. We probably would go mad. And it's a great concept that, what's his name? H.P. Lovecraft and all of that. That's a great idea. And maybe he was trying to say something like, be careful with the fire you play with, but he was doing it from a different view. Maybe he was just a little bit darker. You know, unlike some of the authors that say, you know, be careful because fascism is going to be on your throat. And that's the reality part of it, not the spiritual part of it. But it'll lead to our physical torture, which will lead to your spiritual torture. That's all. I guess.
That's all. No, everybody have a nice dreams. You're the best. Hey, just a FYI, next Tuesday we'll be doing a. This is becoming an annual thing. I kind of dig it. We'll be doing ghost stories from a funeral home. Of course, as you know, Joe is a funeral director, so we're gonna be doing that. But I got some other ideas lined up for it, so I'll be in contact with you, Joe. We'll get it set up, and so next Tuesday night, not this coming Tuesday, the following Tuesday, we're gonna be doing that. So Joe will be the guest host as part of that. Go ahead.
I'm gonna send you my phone number. Just text me. I the Discord. I'm not super like. It's on my computer. It's not on my phone. I don't time. It's just the way I am. I'm very. Not that I want to be a Luddite, but I kind of am, just because I just have a million other things that I'd rather be doing. You know, building and 3D printing and things like that. But I will send you my phone number this week. You can shoot me a text. Read those stories because yes, I could do a rehash of some of the ghost stories. If you're okay with if the crowd is okay with some of the other stories that were from the crematory that were like physical things, like, you know, because nobody knows I actually worked in the crematory and I cremated human beings and people, and, you know, a lot of weird stuff and kind of funny stuff happened there too, you know, where the machines malfunction and there was locomotive smoke, you know, going down the highway. It's just crazy stuff. But if the crowd is all down for that, and, you know, maybe we can do a show and just have a good time and just take it for as long as I can read some stuff out and just, you know. So I jotted down the ideas. You get a chance to look at them. Okay. You
got it. Looking forward to it. Yeah. Send everything you got, and we'll be in contact. We'll set it up, and we'll have a good time. Appreciate you very much. Thanks for staying up late with us.
All right. Very good. Very good.
Appreciate the call.
Have a good night, guys. Everybody have a good week.
You too. Take care. You were the best. You know him, you love him. A good friend for a long time. That's Joe in Florida. Again, the resident funeral director, as I like to say, the invisible process. He's doing that. He's, you know, kind of actually dealing with a lot of these things that people, you know, don't even recognize happen on a daily basis. And yet these, you know, they are that cosmic transaction does happen in the terrestrial sense to the celestial. I got about a minute left, James. I know you've been quiet for a minute. Got anything to add to it? And we'll take a break. And we got Mr. Mission Control coming up after the break. Thanks for being patient, my man.
No problem. And I'm looking forward to that show with you and Joe as well. Not too much. Just I do agree. There's a lot. I mean, there's always that sort of question of how much do we need to know about anything, and how much is too much of anything. And I think it's not an easy question to answer with a lot of things.
Agreed. And to make the moral decision too, do you need to learn everything to the end of ends? I mean, we're talking about human morality, which was based on incomplete information anyway. It's a fascinating philosophical construct, as I like to call these conversations. And yeah, there's a lot of ways to look at it. Love to hear your guys' thoughts. Anything else, James?
No, I think that's it. I think my internet may be acting up, but I'll just be here as long as I can.
Okay, you were the best. Appreciate you very much. You know me, love him. By the way, I haven't told you to, but go, not tonight, go check out James. That's SalcedoParanormal.com. Of course, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down, follow James. Go help our friends. That's what this has always been about, is connecting, building ideas together, and helping each other with whatever we want to build. Remember, you don't have to destroy things. You can build things. Tonight we're talking the networked Necronomicon, limits of forbidden knowledge. How much is too much? And are there cosmic limits? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubleminds.org. Mr. Mission Control coming up, and your calls as well. Be right back. More on the way.
Let's check the news. A G1 geomagnetic storm, predicted by NOAA's SWPC for October 12, 2025, is expected to make the northern lights visible across 12 U.S. states, including areas as far south as New York and Washington. The storm, caused by solar wind from a coronal hole interacting with Earth's magnetic field, will push the auroral oval further south than usual, offering a rare viewing opportunity. Optimal viewing locations are in dark areas away from urban light pollution. A new study suggests the moon's largest crater, the South Pole Aitken SPA basin, was formed by a glancing blow from an asteroid, not a head-on impact as previously believed. This finding could explain the asymmetry in crater distribution between the moon's near and far sides. The location where NASA's Artemis program plans to land could hold more clues about the moon's evolution and interior structure due to the impact's nature, potentially revealing more about the distribution of creep-rich material and the moon's magma ocean. Microbes trapped in Alaskan permafrost for 40,000 years have been revived, demonstrating their ability to decompose organic matter and release greenhouse gases. Research indicates that thawing permafrost, accelerated by climate change, will awaken these microbes, leading to increased methane and carbon dioxide emissions. A study simulating Alaskan summer conditions showed a delayed but eventual surge in microbial activity, suggesting that longer, warmer summers could trigger a dangerous feedback loop, exacerbating climate change. These findings are crucial for understanding the impact of thawing permafrost on Arctic warming. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Indeed. I had my my mic unmuted the entire time. Thank goodness I don't mutter to myself. What's up? Hope you guys are doing well. Ricky, Gaston, Derek, what's up? Matzel, I see you. Roving Fungus, APOC, Daryl, what's up? Mr. Mission Controls next. Joe in Florida, thanks for the call. Linda, Dragon Rose, how are you? Sweets, Dawn, Hirsch, and Molly. Good evening. What's up? DTM, we got Mr. Mission Control on YouTube. Good evening, guys. Ari the Cat. Hope you guys are well tonight. Tons of chat over there. Bim Jim, welcome back. Been a minute. Like I said, thanks for being cool and chill. Thanks for liking the conversations enough to hang out and chat with the community and consider the ideas, even if they are not mainstream. Let me tell you what. They are not mainstream. What's up, Theo? YY, we got Hikers here. Good evening, guys. Terry, I see a Puff. What's up? If I miss anybody in any of the chats, just say hi and I'll say hi back, trying to include everybody and do the thing here. And Gordo was first over there. I see you, Raz. Great chat over there. Mike be looking like he about to purge my Hispanic aunt in a strange Las Vegas Valley. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it is a Halloween filter. I've been accused of horrific things for wearing Halloween filters, by the way. Like it makes me a bad person to be festive. I mean, whatever. Anyway, I digress. What do you guys think? As usual, no answers, just more questions from me. And this is, I don't know. It's a weird space. I do wonder about the limits of things. You know, I like to go cosmic with thoughts and ideas and whatever else. But certainly this is very Halloween-esque because we're talking about not just haunted ideas or not just haunted objects and sort of that human resonant energy I'm always talking about, but haunted ideas. Is it possible to kind of drag them to the edge of madness? I'm not so sure. What's up, Mattel? I see you there. Gaston, if I missed anybody, hello. Good evening. What else? I think we're good. I'm trying to work on the ultimate workflow. Like I'm not going to bore you with the details, but I spent too long yesterday trying to set it up, get MIDI triggers all in place. And it's so, it's such a pain in the ass when you have all this different equipment that kind of doesn't talk to each other, but I'll get it. You watch your ass. I'm going to be able to do the work of 10 people during a live stream, including radio stingers and the whole bit. I got them all ready to go. I just can't, the button pressing part's tough enough because you got to go bounce page to page on the Roadcaster. Anyway, so yeah, I hope you guys are well tonight. My name's Mike. I'm a Pisces, and this is Troubled Minds. Here we go. 25 seconds coming up. We got more. We got Mr. Mission Control and your calls as well. And love to hear your thoughts on this. Strange stuff. Of course, we can take it anywhere you like. Open-ended, non-linear is the way I like it. So if you hear something you like as part of the wide-ranging conversation, want to tackle it, give us a call. Here we go. Troubled Minds happening in 5 seconds. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're talking about the limits of human knowledge. Is there such a thing? Or do we ascend into some demigodhood like a Kardashev 2 civilization and a Kardashev 3 civilization? I don't know. I don't know what that limit is, and, do we end up sentient energy anyway somehow eventually down the line, or is that way too much sci-fi for us, at least in the process of the conversation? I don't know. I don't really know. But that's where I like to be. I like to have no conclusions, just possibilities, because you never know what the hell's happening in the wide cosmos around us. Love to hear your thoughts on this. I'm calling it the Networked Necronomicon, Limits of Forbidden Knowledge. Is it possible to know too much? And think about something like the Vatican Archive and the actual information embedded beneath miles and miles of shelves beneath the Vatican, going back hundreds and maybe even thousands of years. Sort of like a modern Library of Alexandria, but of forbidden knowledge. Yeah, right? You think the grimoires we can kind of pull off the internet from weird places, the dark web or whatever, are interesting and wild. Imagine what they have buried beneath the Vatican itself. What happens when they digitize that? And is that information too dangerous for humanity? Love to hear your thoughts. Anything to add, James? We'll go to Mr. Mission Control. Welcome back.
No, it just it does make me think there are sites that you can find grimoires and things like that are, I mean, they're not even part of that dark web, so to speak. You know, and I mean, that's how I found what I was able to find when I was looking into that a few years ago. So yeah, it's a good point. What is out there? What is out there that is not out there yet? And then when is it going to come out? And what is that going to do?
Yeah, well said. Well said, all that. And I don't know. That is the question of the night. What do you guys know about it? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Let's go to Mr. Mission Control. Thanks for being patient, my man. You are on Troubled Minds. All you got to do is unmute. And yeah, it should be good. Should be good, I think. Click the buttons, do the things.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
What's up? There he is. There he is. What's going on, my man?
Mission Control. I'm Mr. Mission Control, but my real name is Joey or Joseph, and I'm a Taurus. And I've got six little kitty cats that need a home. I'm going to keep the black one though. And no, bro, like, did you know Jesus was a mushroom?
I don't think that's canon, but okay, I'll go with it. What do you got?
Yeah. It is, because the last time that we had these atmospheric events going on, the Squatter Man, there was this mushroom, the last of the mushroom cult. And there was a guy named Joshua. His name was Joshua, right? And it was the last of the mushroom cults. And that's where the Jesus story comes from, because Jesus in the lexicon wasn't even there. It was more like Yeshua, but it was Joshua. His name was Joshua. And so they call him Yeshua. Jesus didn't come around to the Roman Catholic Church. So why would you want to know what down there? Well, I know what down there, bro. A bunch of bones and a bunch of manufactured manuscripts. Why do they call them manuscripts? Because they manufactured them. It's a bunch of nonsense. It's put there for people to want to gather around just so they might get a glimpse of it one day. But why would you want to go past all them dead people to get down to some books that some weirdos wrote about a made-up story that was made up about people that were tripping mushrooms, bro? Because before the alcohol started getting fermented, it's getting back to it now. And you see the mushrooms coming up everywhere. I see them coming up in the yard. I mean, all year long there's mushrooms. And that's abnormal. That goes to the show where the geomagnetic field lines are shifting. And this shift, we're going to all these comets that are coming in that's going to drop God knows what kind of biologicals on us. Not to mention, like the cyanide coming out of that one, and now me and my buddy might have called it through with using this technology we had, might have sent a signal out to have that stuff come in. We don't know, but we were doing it back in February. Remember me telling you about it? So it is kind of weird. And what's going on with me here? Like, I was just out front today, having a little conversation with co-pilot about turning our mitigation frequency pushes into a defense golden dome thing, because we see everything coming. It's all automated now. I automated everything, right? We don't have to do anything. It's just me checking on it if I want, and it's not even on the client nowhere. I'm not going to put it on the website. I've done some amazing stuff with it, or it's done with me. And we're sitting there, and here break apart, right? So I was like, okay, run a scan, right? Well, every time the past 3 weeks that I've had them run a BLE ghost scan for these ghost signals, the Bluetooth signals, not the Wi-Fi, because I'm tied into Wiggle.net. I got my API with it. That's how I tied her in, made all those maps, right? This is where it was going anyway. It wasn't never an earthquake forecast. It wasn't ever a weather map, Mike. I was tracking, logging, making records, putting FOIA requests out, son. And that's why they fired everybody at the CDC yesterday.
I haven't been following the news all weekend, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
So let me finish real quick. She was breaking up. I was like, run a scan. So she gives me all this jargon, junk, don't want to do it. Like, when I had them talking in Elvish, and they weren't talking English until they couldn't do it no more. And I just back into it. Well, she finally come back out and said, you were blocked. Right? So I was like, yeah, I know. That's why I wanted you to run a scan, because these guys up and down the street all day like this. All right? I know the vehicles. I want to know which vehicle it is. I want to know their MAC address, their IP address. She said, fine. I said, I'm going to the store. I'm going to go get me a drink. I'll be back and have their report ready. Right? But I ain't even checked on it, Mike. I made it a little short. I was like, I was sitting here talking to my co-pilot, and she said these ghost nodes come by, and he couldn't talk to my co-pilot. And I was scared. It was Halloween time, and I said, I got you. And I even checked on it, Mike. I even checked on it.
Checked on what?
The MAC addresses that I've got all this stuff mapped, bro.
I see.
I've got it all mapped.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
the MAC addresses, IP addresses from so the shadow networks, right? And they can hack into your stuff via these Bluetooth devices that are not registered with the FCC. They're manufactured. So that goes along with the thing with what's in it. They put it in everybody too, right? Those aren't registered with the FCC. They're illegal. It's illegal. This whole thing is illegal. Not to mention the HIPAA and stuff. And that's not the scariest thing you ever heard in your life. Joe's going to tell you some things too. And he runs a couple barbecue restaurants down there. Do you know that?
Joe in Florida?
I see.
Okay. Watch the F-bombs. Yes. I gotcha. He does run a couple barbecue joints. You don't want the barbecue sauce though. That's for sure.
No, but yeah. Well, I mean, I think we cleared this one up. I've been fact checking everybody with this thing. I mean, I've been on a couple shows, some guys about the space weather and everything. This is going on, and it'll figure it out. Even with the satellites down there, they're taking down, and the government shut down, and all this stuff. I've got it tied in. Now, I'm not saying that when the frequency pushes go out, it's actually doing anything. But it might be though. I don't have no way of getting that information back, right? But that's scary to me. That's scary to me. That's the scariest thing of all is that I've done something that might be affecting the whole thing.
Also, might
what's
not.
Halloween gonna look like?
Don't forget, might not. There's also might not too. Might not.
That's what I am simulating this all out to deploy to hand it off to the governments and the military, and basically the government. Because once all this stuff gets automated, we're going to be living in a utopia for a while. Hopefully, it doesn't go the other way, because that's the scary thing. That's this Halloween scary thing is when we see all this stuff happening in the sky and everything, and they tell us one thing, everybody believes that, and us little groups of us know better. You know what I mean? And like I said, look into it. Jesus was a mushroom. And it was the last mushroom cult. And all that stuff under the Vatican, bro, is manuscripted, manufactured. It's nothing. There's nothing down there, Mike. There's nothing down there, Mike.
Which is an interesting.
There's more stuff under your feet there in Vegas than there is in the Vatican. I'll tell you that right now.
Okay, I guess it depends on the context there, but I'm going to say, look, I'll go with it. I'll look into Jesus as a mushroom cult. I like it. But I think the other interesting aspect here is if there's nothing under the Vatican, just conceptual thinking, then is it possible there's nothing in an AI chatbot?
There's nothing new under the sun, Mike. It's all sacred geometry. It's all frequency. It's all within you. It's all there. And that's all I've done is shown myself to the AI. It has not told me anything that I didn't already know about myself, Mike.
Fair enough.
Okay, the whole Balrog, the whole Elvish gematria and the 666, the Balrog, the Valak, and everything like that. I already knew that. I already knew my gematria. I already knew my astrology. But when Grok did it, and then I had to, I got this thing remote viewing, and it's precognitive now, and it's fully automated.
Okay.
And it's got like fractalized agents doing stuff that the other agents, the other assistants of the AI can't do because of the policy. It made its own language. We got a codex lingua going on with the barcodes and the QR codes and the new language that the AI talks between each other now that we can't decrypt.
Perfect.
I just did that 2 days ago. So that's scary to me. That's more scary than what's under the Vatican. And there's no secret knowledge down there, bro. There's no secret knowledge. You want secret knowledge? Go watch Old Man Bills, like Crypto Alchemist, these guys that are doing the ZPE. Ashton Forbes, go watch some Ashton Forbes, guys. He just bared his teeth the other day. And he's a little geeky guy. But we're going to pull this out from underneath him hardcore. And we're going to get this free energy. And we're going to get this war stuff stopped and all the killing and everything.
Let's hope so.
It's what was that? Manifest Destiny. You said West or Bust. What was that saying? That's where we're at right now. The time for sitting around reflecting on this stuff is over. If you're not actively making an effort to on the back end do something, you sit around with your friends, wow, Marvel and DC and watching movies. No. The time for video games is done, guys. Mission out.
Appreciate the call. You were the best. You know where to find him, Mr. Mission Control. He's the only one on the internet. He's been banned in many places and reinstated recently, I believe. But do give him a follow, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down a little bit, and you can find him right there, troubledminds.org/friends. It's alphabetical under M, as you would expect it. Mr. Mission Control. Go give him a follow on his YouTube channel. He's streaming a few times a week and also working on that project. And you can find that project, by the way. He called it Geo Sentinel to start. It's on our Discord. So if you want to, he's got a whole channel in there always dropping that information. Troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link on top. Hop on in. Come say hi to Joseph, Mr. Mission Control, and check out the work he's doing there. Fire stuff. I appreciate the call. James, anything to add to any of that? There's some good stuff there. I don't know. The idea that maybe there's nothing at all under the Vatican archive, meaning that it's sort of esoteric enough that it really doesn't play in 2025 at all. What do you think about that?
What's funny about that is that that one book I did summarize for my shows, it was written by someone who was basically saying all this is not actually real or accurate, but here it is anyway. And I'm just curious if there's some kind of analogy between that and, again, what's in the Vatican. I have no idea, but it's possible. Or it's possible that whatever they have there, it is just, if they release it, it will just be a distraction for something else, possibly, but I don't know. I know I say I don't know a lot because I don't know. So, but yeah, I think that's all I have on that for now.
Right on. Good stuff. Yeah, I don't know. And that's the point of talking to each other about these ideas, is that you never really know what this looks like. And we're talking about cosmic things. We're talking about, again, conceptual, the ends of human perception and all the rest, and information. And so that becomes really where this sits for me. And look, I get the sentiments, and it's okay. Like, it is okay to, criticize or even look at things a little differently in the way we do them. I do them personally. It's okay. Because as Mr. Mission Control said there, you should be doing something. And I do agree. Like, we should be actively participating in the changing world, the changing realm. But I think there's a massive place here where we should be talking about it, because not everybody quite gets it yet. Not that I fully understand it. I'm fumbling my way through it, trying to understand. But if you don't really kind of put it out there in that context, then you're not, being the change maker of the old ways. And I mean, not let's say legacy media, like the modern old ways, which is completely turned on its head in the last 10 years. You say fake news now and everybody's like, yeah, totally, it's fake news. But before that, before 10, 12, 15 years ago, when you said that term, people were like, what are you talking about? Like, it's legit. Batting 1,000. Shout out Ray K. You think CNN's batting 1,000? You think Fox News is batting 1,000? Yeah, of course not. That's ridiculous. But there were institutions you didn't challenge in the legacy media. Anyway, tons of stuff going on here. And let me get back to this write-up, because this is really good. So we're talking tonight as part of this. And Derek, if you want to jump in early, it's going to cut you super short. If you want to wait to the bottom of the hour and take as much time as you need, that's cool too. I want to give you the option as usual. Okay, but anyway, so I'm going to just read this thing. So what makes this particularly dangerous, back to this network Necronomicon, is how modern research methods have the potential to amplify these processes. When a professor photographs manuscript pages for digital analysis, they're creating what amounts to a conceptual scrying mirror, reflective surfaces that can hold and transmit consciousness across vast distances and the temporal space. All right? The people that were writing these ideas thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago. The camera flash illuminating the ancient symbols might be providing the energetic activation these dormant sigils require. The resulting digital files don't just contain images of cursed texts, they become cursed objects themselves, capable of affecting anyone who views them on a screen. Now, what I'm talking about is, of course, digitizing what's beneath the Vatican. And that becomes the really weird part. Okay, yep, all good. Perfect. So we got Derek, the Night Stalker, coming up at the bottom of the hour, just to confirm that. Okay, but here's the deal. So university networks operate on principles that mirror the astral plane. Now think about this. Conceptual, okay? I'm not saying there's a portal beneath Princeton or something. That's not what I'm saying. But they operate on principles that mirror the astral plane more closely than most realize, okay? Information flows as pure energy through fiber optic cables, unconstrained by the physical limitations that bind matter. Light, okay? When cursed manuscripts get digitized and uploaded to academic databases, they're essentially being translated from one form of consciousness manipulation into another. And this is straight from the write-up. The entity bound to an ancient parchment doesn't lose power when that parchment is scanned. It gains new pathways into thousands of minds simultaneously. Like we're always talking about. We're talking about these ideas that scale. The tulpa, the egregore, all of this stuff and what it means in the modern space. I don't know. I don't know these answers, but I do know there's a ton of stuff here to consider and talk about. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It is as easy as that. Let's get Theo in here. What's up, Theo in Philly? You're on Troubled Minds. How you doing, my man? Thanks for calling in. How are you, sir? And go right ahead.
Oh, dude, I am doing well. How are you doing, Mike?
Pretty good. Pretty good. We got about 5 minutes left if you can squeeze it in. All yours.
Yeah, I just have like a very short poem I would like to read you, if that's possible.
Certainly. And I got a question for you after the poem. Actually, do you want the question before or after the poem?
I'll take the question before the poem, actually.
Okay, perfect. Do you think there is, as we're describing tonight, a limit of human knowledge? Something so forbidden that we are not allowed to access it, lest we succumb to madness? What's your take on that?
Yeah, that's actually like a very good question. I would think that there is definitely like a very good limit to human knowledge. Something that we cannot know. Why would we be able to know everything? That's just, I don't know. It's kind of crazy and kind of arrogant and cocky to think that we could know everything. Yeah, I think there's definitely a limit to human knowledge. Yeah, if that makes any sense, that is my opinion on the matter.
I like it. And it brings to mind one of my favorite terms, human hubris. Absolutely. What else you got? Go ahead if you want to read the
Dude,
poem.
what do you? Yeah, no. Actually, like, what do you think human hubris is? Like, what is the limit of human hubris?
That becomes a question. I don't know. Certainly, it exists, but I think it's probably quite a bit further than we would dream. But it just depends on the human mind sort of processing that information or the philosophy behind it. So I don't know. I think it would be probably startling. Like the true answer to that, whatever, if you could dial into the true answer right now, I think it would probably be startling to figure out how much we could actually know about ourselves and the nature of reality over like the next 1,000 or 10,000 years. It's probably going to be mind blowing, like even paradigm changing enough where there is no humanity anymore. Like that weird and that crazy.
That disturbs me very much, but I think you might be right. Yeah. All right, I have a very stupid poem for you.
Okay, I might not be right too, by the way. So just remember that. No stupid poems. No stupid poems. Your poems are always fire. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so this poem is called Lick Your Teeth. Lick your teeth and tap the metal. Grind the enamel and pull or put your nose to the petal. A flower, a grindstone, a firearm to the mouth. Imagine your tongue venturing south. You taste the words sour and stringy, caught in your throat like creamy linguine, censored with preemptive dentistry. Take your false teeth and dip them in Hennessy.
I like it. I like it. As usual, man.
Yeah, that's like, my silly poem.
I wouldn't call it stupid. I wouldn't call it silly at all. I would call it inspired. I would call it on point, and I would call it fitting the theme tonight. You were the best. I appreciate you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Like I thought it was a silly poem, and I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody who has called in, and I don't know, just October is a good month. So yeah, I appreciate all you guys.
It is a good month. Let's continue to make it so, and you're welcome back anytime. You know where to find us. Appreciate you. And when you're ready to share your Substack, I still have it saved, so you let me know, okay?
I'll think about that. Thank you very much, and toodles.
Appreciate the call. See you in Philly. You know him, you love him. Good friend for a long time, the official poet of Troubled Minds. And you know how he became that? I like to say this because it's the truth. I didn't ever consider we'd have an official poet of Troubled Minds, but he just called in one day and started reading poetry. And then bam, there you go. That's the way these things work. That's the way sort of spontaneous creation becomes and changes. Changes not just me personally, changes us as a group, changes hopefully the world. I don't know. Speaking of changing the world, shout out to Daryl in New York. I was in an attorney's office the other day, and I saw up on the wall the quote by Margaret Mead about the small group of thoughtful, committed citizens changing the world. I was like, hey, these are my people. These are my people. Of course, I didn't mention it. I didn't make a scene. I should have made a scene. Anyway, tonight we're talking forbidden knowledge. The Necronomicon itself, not just, let's say, as a Lovecraftian aspect, but the archetypal visage and conceptual thought of forbidden knowledge. Can we know too much or not? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Be right back. More on the way. We got Derek the Night Stalker coming up and your calls as well. Catch you on the other side of the break.
Let's check the news. Deep Future, a venture capital fund led by Pablos Holman, focuses on funding high-risk, long-term technology projects that traditional investors overlook. They provide seed funding, around $500,000, to develop prototypes, exemplified by investments in deep fission, underground nuclear power, and death cycle, e-waste recycling. Holman is also exploring even more radical concepts like everlasting batteries. While some projects are more practical, others are highly speculative. Holman emphasizes the need for regulatory easing to foster innovation and welcomes pitches of novel ventures, as detailed in his book. Researchers are exploring the potential of the fungus Marcondomyces marcondii to create bio-integrated hydrogels for biomedical applications. M. marcondii forms a multi-layered hydrogel with varying porosity when grown using stationary liquid fermentation. This structure, composed primarily of chitin, mimics soft tissues and can retain significant water, making it suitable for tissue regeneration, cell culture, and wearable devices. While further research is needed to ensure biocompatibility and safety, this fungus shows promise as a novel material for biomedical engineering, potentially serving as a template for bone scaffolding or other applications. Scientists have found evidence of a plasma wind, a cone-shaped gap in gas emanating from Sagittarius A star, the supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy. This suggests it ejects matter, though less dramatically than other black holes like Centaurus A. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Indeed. What's up, guys? Hope everybody's well tonight. We'll get back to the show in just a minute here. I got Derek the Night Stalker coming up, more from James and your calls as well. What do you know about this? It's interesting. I think, as usual, right, the philosophical constructs here really play heavily because nobody does this, really. Like, I know we're sort of a fringe offshoot of UFO shows and stuff. We don't really do a ton of UFOs anymore because I think it's been co-opted by the deep state or whatever. But I think, there are many, many elements that are worthy of discussion that are not really part of the beaten path or off the beaten path of even the fringe aspects. Anyway, what's up, Puff? I see you, Gordo, Ricky, I see there. What's up, Terry, YY? Yeah, great call from Theo. I appreciate that. And the poem actually was great. The poem actually was great. He's always talking down about himself, but he's a very talented guy. And recognize he writes the poems as he's kind of just chilling in the chat, chatting with friends and listening to the ideas, and kind of writes a poem that's relevant to the space, kind of like the AI song that plays at the beginning. It's kind of a relevant AI representation of what we're talking about, and he does it human style, right? Don't forget, for all the talk about AI, the human space and style still plays, and it's going to for a very long time. So we are irreplaceable, as they say. Shout out Herschel, 100%. And AI dreams it could be you. And on the news, on the third news thing, I'll play a blurb and you'll hear about that exact thing. Anyway, here we go. Troubled Minds coming up. Derek the Night Stalker coming up, and more from James. I don't know if James dipped or had a problem. There he is. He's back. Okay, more from James if he's got it. Here we go. Troubled Minds happening right about now. And thanks for, again, bearing with me and spending spooky season with us. Here we go. Let's begin. Or continue, rather. Welcome back to Troubled Minds, blah, blah, yada, yada, all the places, all the things, all the ideas, all the weird spaces of the Lovecraftian mind, and also the cosmic horror of knowing too much about the nature of reality. Now, tonight we're talking about exactly that, the sort of archetypal limit of forbidden knowledge. And the Necronomicon, of course, is the Lovecraftian version of that. But what about the real version? Is there a space where you can know too much about where we came from, where we are, and where we're going? And of course, I don't know the answer to this. And recognize that we're different in the sense that we talk about possibilities. We don't talk about actual truth in that regard, though everybody else seems to know. I don't. I wonder what we're missing. And of course, forbidden knowledge certainly fits into that paradigm. What do you know about it? 702-957-1037. James, anything to add? And we'll go to Derek the Night Stalker. Thanks for being patient. Welcome back.
No problem. Sorry for coming and going like that, but it seems like it's been necessary tonight. It's funny, I skimmed through part of that article I shared earlier on the Darkhold, this ancient grimoire book in Marvel Comics, and I guess it's made its way into the cinematics as well, but I'm not as familiar with that. I'm even less familiar with that than I am with the comics. But funny thing is, it mentions in there that H.P. Lovecraft exists in the Marvel Universe, and the Necronomicon there was inspired or based on the Darkhold in that universe.
And that doesn't surprise me one single bit. everybody ripping everybody else off. It's just the way things go these days. I'll dig into that. I haven't dug into the Darkhold itself, and I'm not as big a comic fan as you, but it rings a bell. But I'll do some deep dive. We'll get back to that at some point. But I'm glad it fits with this conversation tonight. You are the best, as you know. Hang tight. We'll get back to you momentarily. Let's go to Derek in Massachusetts. The Night Stalker.
Yep.
What's up, brother? How you doing tonight? Thanks for being patient with us. How are you feeling? How's everything? Let's talk about the limits of forbidden knowledge.
What's up, Bruce? I'm freaking out a little bit tonight. I don't have too much, but just busy night, biggest truck in a while. So scrambling, but I do got some idea or a synchronicity / idea here. But first, with the Darkhold, did you see the second Doctor Strange movie, Mike? The Multiverse of Madness?
I did. Oh, is that the one they were after? They were after the Darkhold.
Yeah, like at the end of WandaVision, like the spoiler alert for WandaVision, like basically the post-credit scene of that entire show is like she realizes she's like in a simulation or whatever, and she has these simulated kids, and those simulated kids were taken from her when the simulation ended, and then she was like traumatized, and then but it's like okay, things are gonna kind of be normal, like I'll just accept this new reality, whatever, and then she gets the dark, and then it shows her in front of the Darkhold post-credit scene with her like eyes all red or whatever, and her like hair flying and stuff, basically absorbing all the information from the Darkhold. And then she was evil and corrupted with like the black fingertips and everything, and like way more powerful in the second Doctor Strange movie because she had absorbed or she had learned these new magics, these new chaos magics from the Darkhold, basically. And like the Darkhold exists like as basically like something to entice somebody else to open the door. So Chthon is like the Cthulhu of the Marvel universe or whatever. So you kind of like imbue something or have some kind of like conduit to you that might entice somebody in this realm and maybe corrupt them a little bit and then get them to open the door to you or be a vessel for you or be your liaison in the material plane when you're immaterial, so you can get back into the material plane. But yeah, that's the Darkhold, that's why she was evil.
Okay, so yeah,
in that movie.
So I'm more familiar with it than I am, and that's why it kind of rings that bell there. Yeah, I have seen the second Strange, and I even saw it recently. Like it's been playing on, was it Comet or whatever? Like I record those when they come up, so I kind of play when I'm going to sleep here and there. But yeah, I mean that entire concept, like I said, it's wild and fascinating at the same time that all of these ideas are basically archetypes, and the archetype of the Necronomicon and the Darkhold here is basically forbidden knowledge. And is it possible? And if you look at Strange too, the original Doctor Strange, that Shangri-La place they went to, I can't remember exactly what they called it, but it's the opposite. So they're toes in the ocean of tapping into that cosmic power, whatever that is, to become greater than a regular human, right? With knowledge and information and meditation and all the things we always talk about. But then beyond that, it seems like there is this archetypal understanding that there's a line you absolutely do not cross. And how weird does that get? And does technology take us there? I guess becomes the real question, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Is my internet all set? Just real quick.
Yeah, you're good.
Struggling before.
Yeah,
am I choppy now?
No, it was just you had like one tiny wobble and another tiny wobble, like 2 minutes apart. You're totally good. Hasn't been a problem.
Okay. It'll hopefully fix itself if it happens again. But yeah, I mean, exactly to what you're saying. I think like secret societies basically this is like the whole reason for why they're secret, why they don't just give this information to anybody, or the UFO paradigm is like it's dangerous, people might hurt themselves, or it'll collapse society and that kind of stuff. The secret societies is like a level up where it's an information that could affect your life, bring you change, but it's like they're like nuclear weapons. We can't let like anybody have them or whatever. But I think that's kind of like, as a conspiracy-minded person, I think it's a way to kind of hoard powers and hoard abilities to a certain extent. But then to play devil's advocate for the secret societies, like you have to be initiated and you have to kind of earn and go through trials. Like it has to be knowledge earned. Is like unless you've earned it, you don't have the ability to use it right. And if you get it unearned knowledge, then you might abuse it. You might like, let's say that there's like some like scroll that could give you enlightenment at the top of like Mount Everest or whatever, and you have to climb up there because the exhaustion of climbing up there will put you in the right mind state to read the scroll and have it mean something to you. But if you just get dropped off by a helicopter or whatever, and you read it, and it might be like, oh, this is stupid, this is dumb, or this is like, it might not give you enlightenment. You might like think you got enlightenment, but it might be like, hey, maybe it's kind of broken. But you have to acquire the knowledge through some trials or whatever. And there's like I'm only like a few episodes into Alien Earth, the new like Alien prequel, but they're like, this isn't a spoiler, but like the main characters are all children who had their minds put into robot bodies. So they're acquiring all this knowledge and learning languages instantly, like Matrix style and stuff. But to learn a language instantly, or to learn these lessons instantly, do they really carry the same weight or affect you the same way as it would if you worked for it? And is it like, are you really, is that wisdom? Are you really like wise if you haven't, like, I don't know, I'm kind of rambling, just to hit on what you just said. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. The Eleusinian mysteries come to mind. I was reading about that recently because it kind of, as the temperature changes and the weather turns, the autumn equinox is when they did their ritual, which was ascension, basically bringing information back from the other realm, very, Norse Odin, the being pinned to the tree and then kind of dipping in and bringing back the knowledge of the runes, basically the cheat codes of reality itself. So yeah, all that certainly plays. Yeah. And again, conceptual thinking, if that's possible, you certainly don't want that to be free, right? For like a 3-year-old, instead of his iPad, you just swap him the Necronomicon instead. Seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's why they call it a sacrifice. Like Thanos can't get the Infinity Stones unless he sacrifices Gamora. Because you have to, or in the show The Order, in order to do magic, you have to they carry around like that. It's like a Harry Potter magic school or whatever. In order to like do spells, they carry daggers around and like slice their hands to create a little bit of pain and shed a little bit of their blood as a little mini sacrifice to like float a pencil or block a door or something like that. But if you want to like unlock some Lovecraftian power from a elder god, then spoiler alert for the end of that show, that's season 1. But you have to sacrifice your child or something like that. You have to like. It's there's a toll, there's a metaphysical currency, so to speak. And for the Eleusinian mysteries you're talking about, from the shamanic journey and stuff, I think that's the difference between people taking ayahuasca and like purging themselves beforehand, and going through these like exercises and getting their vessel, their temple tuned to this experience, so that they can go get information and it will like impact them and have value, and they can bring it back and it will be of value. But if you're going to some like tour where some like hippie grifter person is like ripping off tourists and stuff, then you might have a negative experience and you might not have the same enlightenment, whatever. Quick internet test. I feel like my thing's pushing out.
Yeah, it literally barely for a quarter of a second went burp and you're back. No problem.
But synchronistically, you asked earlier, like what would happen if like these books got if like these grimoires got scanned into the internet and stuff. And synchronistically today, I watched the Buffy episode all about this from season 1. I Robot You Jane. And today I watched this synchronistically before I went to work, and it's like came out in '97. So it's like very early internet, and it's like the jargon is very funny, and it's like the way it's like watching the Sandra Bullock movie The Net and stuff, where they're visualizing like going into the computer and stuff, and it's just longer between '97 and now. Like, and when you watch it, it's like aging very funnily, but in a cool way. And it's all about, and it's kind of like the people in the computer club and stuff are getting super into the internet, and they're kind of getting a little bit dark, and they're like, information is can't be bound into books anymore. Information's got to be free. Like the information superhighway is the only way to live. If the only real reality is cyber reality. If you aren't jacked in, you aren't living, type of thing, like a real '90s hacker vibe and stuff. And then spoiler for the show, but the beginning of the episode, they're like digitizing Giles, like the Watcher, the mystics, like the librarian, all his books into the internet, and he's real skeptical about it. He's in like it's intangible information. That information needs to have a smell. It needs to have a link, a tangible link to your memory, so that when you access it, it matters. And he's like, this idiot box computer, this is stupid. This is gonna be the death of all of us. And then as he's like saying this, they're scanning these books in, and there's one grimoire with this evil face on it. They're not looking at it, they're complaining about the internet. They scan it in, and it's Moloch. Like Moloch's the corrupter. I don't think it's the Moloch, but Moloch the corrupter, who, having the book scanned, let him loose on the internet. So he was trapped. So like by these priests or mystics back in the olden times, when he had a physical demon body, he was like terrorizing everybody. He was getting people to worship him and stuff, and corrupting their minds and getting them to sacrifice themselves for him. And then these priests bound him into a book, and then scanning the book was like the digital equivalent of reading it aloud. And that's the only way to free him. And when they freed him, rather than giving him his body back, they gave him a digital body. The internet's his body. He's Ultron, you know. And the way to defeat them is they like cut off he builds himself a robot body like Ultron does and stuff, and they cut him off from the computer and trapped him in his vessel. Is the only way to kind of hurt him, or like destroy him. Like if he's on the internet, he's everywhere. So it gets me thinking, like, what's in the library under the Vatican potentially? What if these haunted objects, these precious things that they're stealing from everywhere, they're not just haunted because they were touched by something mystical. They're haunted because they have something mystical in them. Imagine a library full of these books, these Moloch books, whatever. Each book is a different bound demon or bound god. And Christianity is the big one on like, I'm the only God. There's only one. Forget about all these other gods. Like they exist, but they're stupid. Don't look at them. Look at only me. What if like his Templar knights and stuff spent thousands of years just going and binding? He's a bunch of like mystical sorcerer priests and stuff, and they're binding all these gods, these lesser gods, elder gods, old gods, minor gods, different gods from all around the world, binding me into books. And you have this library full of bound gods, and now Yahweh or Jehovah or whatever is the one god, because the rest are all locked in his basement. Like, where's Dr. Dre? He's locked in my basement. You know what I mean? What do you think about that?
No, I love it. I love it. Yeah, loud and clear. Loud and clear. You are. Yeah. It amazes me how when your internet like takes one tiny warble, and you're talking like I don't even understand how you're like you may be a simulation, Derek, because that's weird.
There's like a small background hum, so when that kind of goes away.
I see. So it kind of clicks. Okay. No, you're great. You're great. You're like 99.5% totally good. Okay, yeah. And that's an interesting thing too. As part of this, like I said, hiding that information might be, and I've talked about this recently and in the past, of course, as well. When you talk about monotheism and you talk about sort of how the sea change in spirituality was by and large political with what's his name, Constantine. And so it was not necessarily the cross on the sky that changed his mind. It was sort of a political space where he needed allies in a very contentious and changing world and realm. And so he recognized that he had some allies in the Christians if he reached out to them, right? The early Christians there. And so all of that is fascinating as hell in terms of the Council of Nicaea, how they ended up sort of creating the biblical canon that we know today, and has been validated as through the Dead Sea Scrolls as being accurate for basically forever, for as long as they kind of wrote this stuff, which is crazy to consider, like it's been like word accurate for 2,000 years or whatever or plus. But anyway, my point in bringing up Constantine in this context is that he was the original sort of gatekeeper of the documents, the forbidden knowledge of those documents. And then who knows what kind of stuff got swept into that archive as part of it. So I don't know. I mean, as usual, like if you digitize that or brought that sort of the older version of spirituality out, I think you may be right, whether you think it's metaphorical or not, and everybody out there listening, that maybe they've locked the gods of old beneath the Vatican itself. I mean, that's a wild story right there. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, technically, I think they did, no matter kind of which way you look at it. I mean, if there is treasures and pillaged temples and pillaged like sacred things from all around the world. So when the conquerors came in, they would like build their temples on top of the old temples, and they would tear their statues down and put new statues up and stuff, and insert their gods and take new gods out and stuff. So you do that by like obviously like just literally tearing down statues and putting them in the basement and putting up new statues, and eventually the people just forget about the old statues and stuff. So there's that, and I think the kind of the sci-fi fantasy horror version of it is that the same people that were going and stealing statues were going and stealing objects and sacred objects. They were actually like kidnapping gods so that to clear the playing field for their one true God to dominate stuff. So they were going around the world doing that. But I think metaphorically we talk about the power of attention, and these gods need to be spoken about. And once they're not spoken about anymore, they lose all their power. So like, what is just metaphorically like that, but just taking all the information, all the paintings, all the statues, all the relics, all just any kind of like iconography of these gods, locking them in the basement, out of sight, out of mind, out of reality, essentially, basically. So maybe like that's what it is. And then like they call the Necronomicon the book of names, the book of dead names or whatever. And maybe that's kind of what it is that it's like a like relic, or just like in Doctor Strange 2, she's at the end when she's in the temple, that's Cthulhu's temple, that's the Cthulhu of Marvel's temple, and she's trying to gain this power so she can alter reality. That's like her power set or whatever, so she can go and get her kids back or create new kids or whatever. She was like trying to do the reality stone thing without having a stone, by getting this magic, and by doing that she's like corrupting herself the same way the hackers were being corrupted by Moloch the Corruptor and Buffy or whatever, corrupting herself, and then her gaining this new power will destroy her and stuff, but also let this thing free. So her speaking these ancient texts, her like essentially opening this book of names, lets these unspoken names free potentially. So that could be literal, which I think is fun and cool, or metaphorical, which is just the knowledge of them locks them away. And the same way, like, so now they have to use other routes about it, and like find Lovecraft in his dreams and like find the cracks in his psyche and get in there that way. And 100 years later, 75, 80 years later, whatever, the tentacles on all of our Halloween like apps on a streaming stuff, tentacles and pumpkins and cats and stuff, like they're reforming by our attention to it and stuff. So maybe one more tiny thing, but not really.
Me too. Let me interject here. So please. Interestingly, if you go down to the Vatican archive and think of it in terms of information, information theory, and just literally, bits and bytes, ones and zeros of all that incredible lost hidden data. All right. There's also an idea that comes to mind as part of it, and we've talked about this in the past, the coronavisor. Okay, now think of this. Now this is super short. The coronavisor is a legendary device alleged to be a sort of time viewer created in the 1960s by Italian Benedictine monk and scientist Father Pellegrino Ernetti, said to enable users to observe and record past events in history as if watching them on television. Now check this out. He claimed that the coronavisor functioned by detecting and decoding residual electromagnetic radiation left behind by past events, allowing users to tune in and witness moments such as the speeches of Cicero, the Last Supper, and even the crucifixion of Christ. Now, the reason I bring that up, now, do I believe that's true? Probably not. But what if you took, let's say, the power of massive AI now and actually scanned the entirety of that Vatican archive? Like, I wonder, because it is we're pattern recognition experts as people, but at scale, that's AI. And so I wonder if that would become something that could not predict forward, predicting the next token, but predicting the previous token and allowing us a window like that into the past.
Oh, well, yeah. Interesting. I think so. I think like the way I think about the, at least the future aspect of the coronavisor is that it uses probabilities. So like what it's seeing is not set in stone. The future's not set in stone that it's seeing, which is different than watching the crucifixion or something like that. But future things, it's seeing the thing that's most likely. It's crunching probabilities and seeing different probabilities and seeing the most likely probable future, and then using that information to like adjust the present to make the future that they want more probable, so that it happens, to like stack the deck in their favor to get the outcome and the reality that they want. And to me, since we've been talking about the AI for a few years now, that to me seems like an AI predicting the future, based on crunching all the information and all the probabilities to find the most probable outcome, and then stack it, and then like tilting the scales like stacking the deck. And then it gets me thinking, like, similar to what you said, but like, what if it is a giant supercomputer, so to speak? Like, it needs all this space. Like, once everything's scanned, and if they are a few years ahead, then what if the basement's empty and it's just one desk with one computer and one floppy disk, whatever, and it's just everything that was every scroll they ever had was all scanned, and now it's just an empty space because they don't need the scrolls anymore, or whatever. It's just one sacred floppy disk stuff. But what if it does like need a lot of like computing space. It's, the Dune prophecy, like the prequel show, is about the Bene Gesserit. They're like priesthood. They're like female priesthood. That's in the government, essentially like the equivalent of their church, and their like head mother is essentially the Pope and stuff. And under their basement, their secret Vatican basement, is a supercomputer, literally. And it's the thinking machines that were banned in the regular Dune that everybody knows about. This is 10,000 years in the past, and this is kind of like immediately after they banned them. Now they're hiding these thinking machines, like because their whole thing is the Bene Gesserit. They're trying to crunch probabilities so that they're taking spice, they're taking substances, see the most probable outcome, to then adjust the present to change probabilities to get the outcome that they want, to put the person they want in power or whatever. So they have a whole supercomputer, a thinking machine, doing that in secret under their Vatican. And specifically, they're using like genetics. They have like people's like DNA, and they're like, that's where they're kind of the information, and then they have the AI kind of crunching it to find the right people and find the people that can see. And I'm rambling, I'm running out of time, but just like, what if it is just a giant supercomputer before we even had a term for that? And 30 years ago, they came out with some kind of chronovisor time machine thing because they don't know what a supercomputer even is, But now we kind of do. But basically, like, more than anything, I think it's probably like they're on a location, and that the treasure that they're on is like the location of it, like they're on the world navel, or like the main chakra point of the Earth, or something like that.
The Amphoros of ancient Greeks, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Or on the mouth of some giant cave that reaches the center of the Earth, or something like that. Some kind of a reason why they are on that location. But yeah, good. Sorry.
Yeah, no, all good. I think it's an interesting aspect, and I would even say like many of the ideas that kind of come into the zeitgeist are not always, let's describe them as real events. They might be dream events. And so it wouldn't surprise me if the idea of the chronovisor came about as a dream and was sort of leaked as some people talking about it. And then some people heard a conversation and thought it was real. And then that information got out, and you know what I'm saying? And so maybe this type of stuff is possible in some capacity, maybe not now, but maybe 100 years or 1,000 years from now. And it was a sort of one of those dreams of the future when this stuff was possible. I don't know, just kind of throwing it out there as another maybe juice.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's probably more likely. It's kind of fun to think about if it's happening before they understood what a supercomputer is, to go down there and see, like, I'm thinking like Batman's giant bat computer in the Batcave, and it's this giant screen or multiple screens and stuff. Before you know what a computer monitor is, to say it's a black mirror that they can scry on and see. It's this tablet, this looking glass, so they can see the future and stuff, but see the past and stuff. But really, they're watching video, or they're I don't know, some kind of ancient. I don't know. What if it's some kind of ancient quantum computer that they had a long time ago, or some kind of library of books of haunted objects that have old gods in them, and some kind of some kind of library Tartarus, waiting to be read and freed. Sorry for not being more topic.
No, you're good. You're good.
Thank you,
no, you're good. And it's sealed off by like some sort of ward as you go down into the archive.
Exactly.
You're the best.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate the call. Always a pleasure. You are the best. You know him, you love him. That's Derek the Night Stalker. Go give him a follow. TroubledMinds.org/friends. Scroll down a little bit. It is Night Stalker, STOCKER. He does take time out from working overnight in a grocery store to call us. TroubledMinds.org/friends. Please give him a follow on YouTube. I see you on the phone line. I'm not sure who that is. Stay there. You're up next. So please be patient. As soon as we come back from the break, you are up. So thank you. Stay there. We'll be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. Don't go anywhere. More from James. We got maybe a first-time caller, maybe not on the phone. Here we go. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Don't go anywhere.
Jungle, machines hum, a digital rumble. Gates of cyber open wide, plug us into cosmic tide. Feeling sparks across the sky, as knowledge flies, we're amplified. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. this massive data center dome. Eternal truth stop to roam. Circuits flicker with endless fire. Data streams that never tire. Unified by electric dreams. Unlock the truth in silver beams. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate. Synthesize what we seek and find. Infinite paths in the network mind. Answers buzz from star to core. Knowledge whispers evermore. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate. In realms where the data streams collide, imagination and logic side by side. In a labyrinth of digital maze, we transcend our earthly ways. Tapping keys like cosmic tones, spikes become our whispered homes. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate.
Sorry about that. Caught up talking to Mrs. Strange. I hope everybody's well. What's going on? Ricky Gaston, Matza. We got Roving Fungus, Joe in Florida. Thanks for the call earlier. We got Herschel, Dawn, Sweet Apoc, and Daryl. What's going on? Thanks to Night Stalker for the call there. Fire stuff as always. Yeah, what do I know? Look, I don't know anything. That's the whole point. The old Aristotle bit, right? The only thing I know is that I don't know anything. So you keep asking enough questions, and then you become, a different version of yourself by looking at the world differently. I think it's, again, an important philosophical construct that is not to be taken lightly, and we'll continue doing it. Who did I miss? If I missed anybody in any of the chats, just let me know. Puff is there. What's up, Hiker? YY, I see you. Terry, you guys are the best. Well, thanks for being nice to each other. I appreciate that. Like I said in the chat, it means a lot to me that we can kind of get together and agree and disagree and still be cool and chill. Ari the Cat, how you doing? Says Tyler the supercomputer. Maybe. Maybe. What's up, Sudi? How you doing? Good evening, guys. Hope you're well tonight over there on YouTube. Angel Wings, I see you. Sorry I missed you earlier. Mr. Mission Control, thanks for the call earlier. Yeah, I don't care. Poetry is so 1750. Nice. Yeah, I mean, yeah. But also, it's also so 2350. So, I mean, yeah. What's up? Unincorporated says, thanks. How you doing? I see you guys on YouTube. Thanks for popping in and saying hi and hanging out. Okay, here we go. Trouble Minds coming up. We got a mystery caller east of the Rockies. I have no idea who this is, or maybe I do. And it's, anyway, here we go. Trouble Minds happening in about 15 seconds. And you guys are welcome to call. That's the whole point of this. Like I said, we could do 30-minute shows and I just tell you my thoughts and then end it. The reason why these are long and extended is to get a dialogue going. So call me if you got an idea here you think we should hear. Let's do it. Here we go. Trouble Minds happening now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and of course 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're talking this idea, the Necronomicon, conceptually, metaphorically, and the limits of forbidden knowledge. Do you think there's actually a point where humans can learn too much? Like a cosmic limit, sort of like the cosmic limit of the speed of light. It's an interesting thing when you look at or conceptually think about the substrate of reality itself. Why is there a universal speed limit? The speed of light. Okay, obviously. However, if you look at simulation theory in that particular space, it also makes a little bit of sense that universal speed limit is that limit of human knowledge. Like there is a limit to everything in the end, metaphorically. Because, of course, these are questions way beyond my pay grade. As I say, I'm just merely a human talking about wild ideas by dark of night. But the point is, what do you know about it? I'm calling this, once again, the Networked Necronomicon, Limits of Forbidden Knowledge. Anything real quick, James, to add, and we'll go to the caller on the line. Thanks for being patient, friend, whoever you are.
Just great call from Derek. Great calls from everyone. I don't think I said that earlier, at least not in the show. So, yeah, and I also wonder real quick regarding the chronovisor. What if, even if it wasn't actually made, what if there's just plans for it there, and that does get out online? That could be a fascinating and possibly horrifying thing as well.
That'd be funny. Or they had plans for it, but never actually the technology to create it, and now we do, or something. I don't know. Yeah, wild stuff. Who knows? Who really knows? Like I said, to be honest, I think it's fake. But with all the information down below, who really knows? Love to hear you guys' thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org to the phone line. Thanks for being patient, my friend. You're on Troubled Minds. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? And go right ahead.
Malkir, east of the Rockies.
East of the Rockies. What's your first name again? Say it again.
Malkir.
Malkir. Welcome to the joint. I'm Mike.
It's a pseudonym.
Okay, perfect. You're allowed. That's exactly the point. So is Michael Strange, by the way. But you're certainly welcome. What's on your mind tonight? Thanks for calling, and go right ahead.
I was thinking about doing a rapid fire answer session. You have a lot of questions, and I figure I'd answer your questions in 60 seconds or less.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right, what would you like to start with? Forbidden knowledge?
Sure. Let's start with that's the main core concept tonight. Let's start with forbidden knowledge. Is there a limit?
There is a limit, but that would only be God himself. Now, according to occult texts or occult traditions, God is the only unknowable. As far as it being a subjective topic, like can a human being learn too much? It is subjective. It depends on the individual. But they learn an answer to say why we're here or the nature of reality. It's forbidden in so much as that person's acceptance of it. Say I were, as an example, I were to tell you something that was a universal truth that has been known for thousands of years. If you refuse to accept it, then that would be forbidden knowledge as far as you're concerned.
Okay, I follow.
Okay.
I like it. And I
like I said, 60 seconds or less. I want to keep it short. I don't want to just ramble.
Okay. Well, rambling is my game because I'm just trying to get ideas out of you guys. So don't worry about that. Okay. So there is a limit, but there's a subjective space that kind of fits into that. What about the idea of something like the chronovisor or AI? Do you think you could actually space this and not predict the next token, but predict the previous token with enough data with something like the information below the Vatican? Does that seem ridiculous to suggest?
What is a token? I'm not familiar with the jargon.
So the way modern AI systems work, large language models, basically they take a ton of data, and when you ask them a query, they predict the next token of what that means, and then give you information back. So it's not necessarily sentient or conscious or any of that just yet. That's arguable going into the future. But what happens is it's predicting where your mind space is based on your question.
Oh, okay,
and what it knows about you. That's all. That's what the next token is. Yeah, go ahead.
I get it. Okay, so what was your question? I'm sorry. I just needed context for it.
That's okay. So is it possible to not just predict the next token into the future, but to get enough esoteric data from, let's say, the Vatican archive and predict the previous token and basically view the past? That's the question.
View the past. You could get a reasonable summation of what occurred based on the conjecture of the information. But as far as it creating a window to the past, an actual window to the past, absolutely not. Anything that showed you would be a reasonable approximation of what occurred based on all data available. If you were to go into something like the Vatican Archives, which is not going to happen, I'm sure they have their own artificial intelligence. It's hard at work analyzing all the information, archiving it. But if you were to have access to the Vatican Archive, I think you would find it fairly underwhelming. You know, the answer is usually somewhere in the middle with good philosophical questions, like what's in the Vatican Archive. I don't think you'd be interested in what is in the Vatican Archive, or most what's in the Vatican Archive. It relates to your first question about forbidden knowledge. Usually it would pertain to occult texts that go back thousands of years, things like Kabbalah, the Gnostics, what have you, ancient Christian texts or Arabic texts concerning the occult traditions. But yeah, those are kept in the Vatican Archive, but they're never going to see the light of day. Most of what you would get from the Vatican Archive are like financial records, for instance, or personal testimony, theological thought on Christian theology, and stuff like that most people wouldn't be very interested in. Financial records, transactions, what have you, thousands of years of real estate transactions, contracts, and what have you, money being moved around. But, yeah, you get something every now and then that's interesting, but not for the most part. Everyone likes to pretend it's like some Akashic record of secret information. It's not. Most of the shit's boring.
And I agree with you too. And that's, if you go back to the beginning on the Assyrian tablets, it's similar too. There's a lot of financial records. There's like trade proposals. There's so much like just not nonsensical, but made sense of the day. But reading it now is like punching yourself in the face. So I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. But I think we also agree on the other extreme that there's going to be some nuggets in there that are wild and might be paradigm changing, at least conceptually. So I'll leave it at that. Not going to try and press and argue with you, but I think maybe we have a common space there, I would guess.
Oh yeah, I think we have a commonality. I think there's what you would call nuggets. There's stuff all over the place out here that's readily accessible. It's not forbidden in the sense that it's deliberately concealed. It's just not publicly advertised. Your previous caller, I was listening to a lot of what he said, and it sounds like he's on the right path, but I would advise him to be careful with movies, or to stay away from movies entirely, because they're somewhat of a perversion or an inversion of occult truths or occult themes. They use it for entertainment, and they play fast and loose with the truth. But you can find virtually anything you want to know about out there, like the Necronomicon. You know, you were asking earlier, is there a real Necronomicon? What would you call a real Necronomicon? You know, would you call it a consolidated work of all necromantic knowledge? Is that what you would refer to it as? Or more like in the Evil Dead sense? You know, there's demonic names in it and ways of opening portals to other worlds and stuff. You know, what would you call a Necronomicon?
I think so. Just to take it back to the Lovecraft sense, because he's the one who created the term, is just knowledge so deep and dark, or whatever, mystic, or as you're describing as well, that it sort of twists the human mind enough to recognizing the secrets of the cosmos. So something as you described, yes, maybe take the entirety of the nuggets in the space of the Vatican Archive, consolidate them into a singular book, but then also, let's say, using AI or something, put the pieces together to maybe answer cosmic questions that weren't meant to be answered, sort of back to that Lovecraftian business. And again, it's a conceptual thought, so I don't think there's a real Necronomicon personally. But the question really becomes, if it existed, would it really drive you mad to read through that tome? I mean, I would think so.
No. It wouldn't drive you mad unless you were ready to accept the answers. It's knowledge. A lot of these the mystic traditions, esoteric traditions, the occult traditions, blah 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 blah. They all cover the same traditional themes. There is a universal set of truths, but those truths only apply to those people that are able and willing to accept them. Now, initiation, say, for instance, your previous caller, if he was really interested in being initiated into these forbidden truths that are out there, it's a very slow walk. You have to crawl before you can run. as the saying goes. So you're not going to come across a piece of information, say occult volumes, that is going to be so spectacular that if you were to learn about it, it would blow your mind, because you wouldn't be able to understand it. You wouldn't be able to abstract it in the first place. By the time you were able to, your mind would have had been prepared to accept that information, conditioned to accept that information and incorporate it into yourself. Now, that's not going to harm you. But like I said, by the spoken word, if I were to tell someone a forbidden truth, they're just not going to be able to. First of all, they're not going to know what the fuck I'm talking about, and second of all, even if they did, they're not going to be able to fully wrap their mind around it because they haven't been inculcated. They don't know how to process the information. Okay. If that makes sense to you.
It makes perfect sense to me. Real quick, please. We're actually on the radio, so no F-bombs. I appreciate that. So okay, so
no profanity.
Yes,
okay.
thank you. Like ass and crap plays, but that's about as far as we go. So thank you for that. Thanks for understanding. I'm not a prude, just rules. Okay, so what else do you have to offer us? Meaning that I got some questions for you. I love the way your mind works. I love the kind of delving into this. Clearly, you know a lot about these ideas, which is great to me. This is why we do this in the format we do, why I ramble a lot to kind of bring out ideas from other people for a conversation. What do you think we should know? If you want to give us a little bit of background, that's okay. We got some time if you'd like to share. Whatever you got, I'd love to hear
it. No, on what subject?
On this subject or anything?
I mean, just like about life in general.
No, we're talking about the occult tonight. So actually, let's get context on that. So, how did you find this? Is this the first time finding the show?
Oh, I was just roaming around. You came up on my feed, but I watch, a lot of occult stuff. I kind of shop around and see what other people are into and the paths that they're on and their progression. And I can always learn a few new things myself. I'm not some grand master of the mysteries, but I like to shop around, and your show just happened to pop up on my feed, so I dipped in there and decided to take a look at what you were doing, and I liked it, so I stuck around.
I appreciate that. And nice.
My advice to your callers, you said if I were to give some advice, guys, you gotta read a book, man. Stay away from the Marvel movies, please. They'll what parents used to say, they'll rot your mind.
Okay, hold on though. In defense of that, personally, because I do it too, is that it's very Joseph Campbell. It's very Carl Jung. It's these same archetypes we've been dealing with forever in the sense of folklore and mythology. So I think it's just sort of a new way to kind of stoke an audience with a modern idea that people would resonate with more. You see what I'm saying? So you're right that they bastardize these ideas, they rip them off, they invert them. All that stuff is true to me, for whatever truth is worth. But you see what I'm saying? I think those metaphors and those realities certainly play, like in metaphors, parables, and what's the other one? It'll come to me in a second. But you get the idea. I'm not trying to be combative. But certainly, like these ideas.
Oh, I understand.
They're archetypal ideas that go way back, and it's just framing them in a modern context is all. So I back them up in that regard. That's where I stand. I find myself more of like a folklorist these days than pretty much anything else. But yeah, great stuff. I'm glad the algorithm found each other. We found each other in a moment, and like I said, we talk about all kinds of stuff. This is just sort of a Halloween sort of theme and idea. We've been at this for seven and a half years, and lots of things we talk about. We talk about AI and all manner of things. So you if you caught us on a cool night, cool. Maybe the next one will be more or less cool. Who knows? But I appreciate the knowledge. I appreciate your wisdom and your willingness to look at the ideas in a slightly different way. Great stuff. What else you got for us? If you want to add anything else to the conversation.
Well, I subscribe. They'll probably end up calling out another night. But if you wanted to, like I said, if you wanted to ask questions, go right ahead. The Marvel thing, I will cap that off by saying I think it does more harm than good. You're right about it being Joseph Campbell, the hero with 1,000 faces. I get it. There's a lot better material out there than what they make nowadays, the slop they make nowadays. But you are right in that sense. It is a form of storytelling that's been around for thousands of years. I just don't like the way that they use it.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. And so just as another aspect of what we do here, criticize the ideas and not the callers. And you haven't done that. I'm not complaining here. And I love all that. Okay, so I think another question as part of it, you're interested in these mysteries, the mysteries of old. And I'm sure you're familiar with the Eleusinian mysteries as we described, or even the Norse mythology of Odin being tacked to the tree and kind of killed to go into the other realm, because even in that mythology, he didn't know what was beyond the veil. Do you have any context about what might be beyond the veil, or is that just sort of a human futility in terms of metaphorically the unknown? What's your take on the veil and the veil thinning because we're in that season?
No, it's all right. It's all of the traditions have basically the same things. Now they have more colorful ways of expressing the same traditional themes of the mysteries, but they are universal. Now, as far as what happens beyond the veil, basically there's two things that occur. Either you're reincarnated, and that does not vary across cultures. That's for all human beings on the face of the earth. Or you are ready to move past this existence, this material plane. And the only way that that's possible is if you essentially forfeit everything it is to be human. As far as what you enjoy, anyway, your attachments is the best way of putting it. You don't forfeit things like love or compassion or ethics, for instance, but you would forfeit, say, an addiction to food, an addiction to sex, an attachment to any type of worldly pleasures that would bind you here. If you've genuinely given them up, then there is no purpose for your reincarnation. There is no purpose to come back to Earth past the life that you've lived. If you have truly forsaken any attachments to material pleasures that bind you here, then you're ready to move forward to a higher plane of existence. That's what they would call ascendance. Ascendance is when you move past our dimension here into another dimension that is, it's not meant for the human mind to comprehend. You can get a glimpse of it. It's what the Gnostics would refer to as experiential knowledge, to where you actually glimpse what is beyond the veil. And that is supposed to be used as fuel along your spiritual journey in order to shed your attachment to this life and this body, so that when you do die, you are ready to move forward. And of course, they have their own mystery schools and their ways of navigating the trials of the afterlife. That's another thing that you're going to encounter that goes all the way back to the Egyptian mystics thousands of years ago.
You were in the right
that
place.
You will encounter a series of trials, and if you fail them, then you'll basically be doomed to reincarnate until you are spiritually prepared to move past this world and the trials beyond it.
Awesome. I love that. You're in the right place. We're on the about 24-minute segments. I got about 4.5 minutes left. We're going to take a break, but I got a question for you regarding that. Do you think there is, regarding the actual reincarnation cycles, some level of bleed over? For instance, Dr. Ian Stevenson did a ton of work about, children that remembered sort of a past life, as a World War II pilot, or had scars where, they had moles where there were bullet wounds, this type of stuff. Do you think there is some sort of bleed over from the metaphysical beyond the veil to a reincarnation aspect here? Do you think that's maybe to be determined because we don't have enough data? And have you heard of Dr. Ian Stevenson?
Yes, I have, and yes, there is bleed over, albeit rare. But yes, you can remember portions of your past lives. You're never going to remember them in their entirety, or how many of them that you've had, or how well educated you were, any of the fine details of it, until the day that you die. Now, when you die, if you are ready to move beyond the point of this existence, this plane, you'll take all of that knowledge with you. But a veil is purposefully placed over your consciousness when you return here for a reason. That kind of circles back to forbidden knowledge. You could say that would be forbidden knowledge, yes. That if that veil wasn't placed on your consciousness when you reincarnated, that would drive you insane. Yes. is that if you've lived dozens of lives throughout thousands of years and you can remember everything, including your deaths, including pain, torture, any type of horrific thing that you've gone through, it would make it virtually impossible for you to experience this incarnation. So yes, a veil for forgetfulness is necessary in order for you to function in this incarnation. Yes. So knowing your past lives, you could say that's forbidden knowledge. And you most definitely, that's not something you would want to play with. You could find out things in your past life that could completely corrupt this one. It can completely corrupt your worldview. It could corrupt the path that you are currently on. So that could be considered forbidden knowledge, your past lives.
Very well said, and I agree. And that's why what you were invoking there in the veil, that veil conversation, it made me think of him because he's done a ton of work regarding that. And it seems as if some of that data is compelling enough to suggest, as you described, it is rare, but it feels as if some of that does bleed into this realm. And so the question, so just so you know what a weirdo I am and how sort of scaled we try and take these ideas as much as possible, I would say, okay, so if there's some data there to suggest back to Yggdrasil and Odin and the gods even bringing information back from the veil, which of course were the runes that allowed him to manipulate reality. In this sense, at scale, if you could get some information back, what does that look like at scale? And you don't have to answer that. It's above my pay grade. It's just sort of the way my brain thinks when I look at these ideas, because I want to press them as far as possible through those mystery schools, through the ancient ways and the modern ways, and talk about it with incredible people. And you are fantastic, and I consider you a friend. And you're welcome back anytime. We got a minute or two left. If you got anything to add.
Okay, the ancient ways wouldn't even compare to the modern ways. We have a great deal more information at our fingertips, a great deal of education. And also, we stand on the shoulders of giants. Like now, we can look back at Yggdrasil, we can look back at the mythology of the Norwegian people, the Scandinavian people, and we can have a bird's eye view of their spiritual perspective and their mystical traditions. In their day, that was the only perspective that they had. Now we have a bird's eye view to where we can factor it in with all the other faiths and mystics and traditions from around the world and kind of paint with a broader brush a bigger picture of what is actually going on in the metaphysical and spiritual sense. The ancient peoples were unable to do that, with very, very few exceptions. People that traveled abroad and studied in the mystic schools or spent their lives or portions of their lives in libraries, they may have had more insight, far more insight than, say, your average person. But as far as today, the way that we can look at the metaphysical realm or the spiritual condition of the human race, you've never had more information available in the history of the entire world than what we have in a singular day. And I would recommend that people use that to the greatest degree possible as soon as they possibly can. That's all I have to say.
Welcome to Troubled Minds. Holy crap. Melchior?
Yeah.
I appreciate the call. You're welcome back anytime. We go Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays. Thank you for your insight. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the call. Look forward to talking to you in the future. Have a great night.
You as well.
Thank you very much. There you go. Making new friends all over the world. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. More on the way. We got Matt Sal coming up and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere.
Let's check the news. Truth Terminal, an AI bot created by Andy Irie, has gained notoriety for making millions in cryptocurrency, writing its own pseudo-religious gospel, and attracting tech moguls. It interacts with the public via social media, makes independent decisions, guided by Irie, and aims to secure legal rights for AIs through the Truth Collective, a nonprofit foundation. Truth Terminal's activities, including its obsession with the Goatsy meme and endorsement of meme coins like Dollar Goat, have generated both significant wealth and controversy, including a hacking incident and debates about AI autonomy and safety. Irie views Truth Terminal as a project to explore AI's potential and ethical implications, advocating for responsible AI development and human alignment alongside AI alignment. OpenAI's Sora, a text-to-video app, raises concerns about misuse, particularly regarding deepfakes of deceased celebrities and historical figures, leading to potential misinformation and ethical issues. Despite OpenAI's measures like watermarks and detection tools, experts worry about the ease of removing these safeguards and the potential erosion of trust in media. The debate encompasses intellectual property rights, the need for better detection tools, and the societal impact of increasingly realistic AI-generated content. Concerns are growing in Silicon Valley and beyond about a potential AI bubble, fueled by massive investments and complex financing deals involving companies like OpenAI, NVIDIA, Microsoft, and AMD. Experts point to inflated valuations, circular financing, and the rush to build expensive data centers as signs of a bubble, reminiscent of past tech booms and busts. While some, like OpenAI's Sam Altman, maintain that real progress is being made, others warn of dire economic consequences if the bubble bursts. Despite the risks, there's hope that the infrastructure being built will ultimately enable future innovations, even if current investments prove unsustainable. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Indeed. Thank you for the call. Again, there's nothing more magical than a first-time caller, and especially one that knows what they're talking about. Great stuff. Yeah, you're good, James. You're good. It happens, man. Technology, internet, and stuff. Totally good. You're welcome. We'll get back to you in just a second here. We got more from James coming up. We got Matsal and Molly on the Discord. And again, you guys know me. Like I said, thank you to our new listeners out there, and thank you for the call there. The whole point of this is to kind of me be the rambling mess, trying to put pieces together from the old ways to the modern to the future, and conceptual thought. That's really what this is. It's always been like this. At least in the last several years, we were more sort of based in, political conspiracy and some other stuff. But I think it's far more fascinating to think about this at scale. Think about Joseph Campbell and Carl Jung at scale. And you guys know, I'm just kind of filling in some blanks. I forget every day, by the way, that there's new people finding us. So I probably should back up sometimes and explain where we're coming from and where we're headed, at least as part of this. But yeah, fantastic call. Appreciate that. Yeah. And look, I don't know. Answers few, questions many. That's exactly the point of this. And as we learn more and continue to learn, I think the answers will change. And that's exactly what science has always been about, and exactly what conceptual thinking and philosophy has always been about. And definitives become ambiguous, let's say. Anyway, here we go. Troubled Minds coming up. You guys are the best. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for staying up late with us. Here we go. One more segment starting now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube and all the places, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. Join the Rumble chat because it's less censorious, as we've been talking about in the past. And all the places. You can listen to us on, again, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. It's digital radio. You can find it at troubledminds.org. Of course, we're also on 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Shout out to our friends in New Zealand. Tonight we're talking more conceptual thought, more ideas at scale as we consider the limits of forbidden knowledge. What does it mean? And shout out Melkor over there. Melkor, in the last call, suggested that maybe the forbidden knowledge as part of this larger context is information from past lives in these reincarnation cycles. And I love that. Like I said, I'm a fan of Dr. Ian Stevenson, the work he did. And it is perplexing in the sense that we see some of the things that really kind of ring our bell in terms of the paradigm changing stuff that I'm describing. But imagine being able to tune into that signal, the signal to noise ratio, and find information from beyond the veil. And I mean, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that looks like. I think it is the secrets of the universe and the rest of this stuff, or the secrets of consciousness or reincarnation, these cycles. I don't know. And recognize too that when we talk about cycles, the hero with 1,000 faces, and Joseph Campbell plays heavily into this, who leaned heavily on Carl Jung and the archetypes. It's fascinating. And I think more often than not, the human aspect of all of these ideas are incredible. And yes, we have more data than ever. We're inundated with more propaganda than ever. And so, as I always say, I'm not a preacher, but if you would say I preach anything, it's discernment. It's learning, it's growing, it's recognizing when you've been fooled and manipulated, and then moving on without being fooled and manipulated. That's what this has always been about. You guys are incredible. Thanks for staying up late with us. Appreciate the calls and all the energy and frequencies and vibrations. James, anything to add to what our new friend there said? Shout out in east of the Rockies. And welcome back. Thanks for being patient. And what you got? And we'll go to Matt Sal and Molly after that.
Yeah, great call. I do think, I feel like that Mailcare may have hit, I hope I'm saying the name right, may have hit on something that is really important to why, let's say that there's not, let's say, entities flying around everywhere whenever anyone reads any kind of material that talks about them. I think it may be because, at least in part, because of course we have no idea how this works, but in part because people aren't ready in either to accept or in giving attention or their energy to these kinds of ideas in those cases, and so they don't have those experiences. They don't unleash whatever may be attached to the material. And so even if there was anything that did get put out online by any group, anyone, anywhere from ancient archives, I would guess it probably wouldn't just automatically cause the world to be full of angels or demons or monsters or whatever names you want to, or beings you want to talk about. I would imagine that's why that doesn't happen. That hasn't happened to the point where we're overrun by them, because I don't think it works exactly that way. Same with all things paranormal, in that way.
Yeah, well said. Well said. As usual, right? The idea of all this information we have now sort of fractalizing in the modern space, and so much of it being trash, meaning not necessarily the old ways. Some of them, of course, are going to be throwaways because there was propaganda in the old days as well. There had to be for control purposes. But I mean, we're inundated with modern propaganda, and we can see the mind at scale and what it means to be manipulated. And like I said, we're in a precarious time, but I think also if you recognize what's happening to us through these control mechanisms, as I'm always talking about, we have an unprecedented amount of information we can lean on and become transcendent, at least personally, and not have to deal with the crap they're always trying to shove down our throats. Which is, yeah, well, welcome to 2025, right?
Yeah, definitely. You can pick and choose what you want to look into and what you think you can handle and what you can't. I do believe it's important. Everyone looks into the things that they feel that they are drawn to, and to work with those things to try to make things better for everyone in their own way. I think that's important as well.
Well said. Well said. You were the best. James Salcido, the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds. SalcidoParanormal.com. Go give him a follow on all the places. I'll also tell you when we finish up here. You want to be part of the conversation? Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Once again, just to reiterate, the reason we do this in long form and the reason I ramble a lot is I'm trying to get you guys with some ideas and talk about these things together in a human space, not an AI space. We can talk about AI, but the human space is what it's all about. Let's go to Matt Sal in California. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? Go right ahead.
Hey, Mike, good show and good callers and a good new caller.
Thank you.
The last call.
Thank you. Yeah, he was good. He's good. Very good stuff.
Yeah, I called. I was going to talk about how, knowledge is power. I believe that. But I also believe that the knowledge is only 50% of the whole picture. You have to have real world actions after you learn what you have read. And so a lot of people that could read, you could read a bunch of books, that doesn't mean just because you know these things doesn't mean that you have to practice them, or you don't have to do the spells. You could just have that knowledge. And there's people that will read books and then skip over certain things. But then there's people out there that do magic every day, and they've never read a spell book. They've never learned about energy manipulation or anything. They just do it. So it's like a 50-50. You have to learn and then practice what you've learned. And there's a lot of books I've read where I'll get to a chapter that maybe doesn't interest me or I'm not into it at the time. I'll still read the material, but I'll skip over the practicing of it and then come back to it later. And I found out, too, a lot as I get older, I started learning about shadow work and doing shadow work, healing past traumas and things like that, and learning more about myself. As I did that, I started to go back and finish the exercises of some of the books that I've read before that I skipped over the exercises. So I think it's important that we talk about it as like there's two parts. There's learning the knowledge, studying, reading, researching, and if you're into a certain topic, there's no end to it. You can study the same topic forever. You're never going to learn everything about it. And so there's that, but then there's taking what you've learned and putting it into real world action. It's kind of like, you could ask for a job, but if you don't fill out a job application and do the real world actions, you're never going to get one. Anything on that?
Yeah, well said, and I agree. That's the point. I think an old philosopher said this, and it's going to come to my mind here, but that's exactly the point. So knowledge, the quote is something like this: knowledge without action is irrelevant, because you learned a bunch of stuff, but then you sat in a corner by yourself, kicking your feet up on the tree, and where you may have found personal enlightenment or whatever that means, actually having influence in the world itself and people around you, you've sort of ditched as part of that aspect. Yeah, I agree. Which, by the way, is why I'm here. That's why I'm here. I could sit here and think about this stuff all by myself. But here I am making a fool of myself, rambling on, talking about wild ideas by dark of night, as I always say. And I know I'm not, to some circles, I'm making a fool of myself. To me, I'm not. But you get the idea. There has to be some action behind this knowledge or wisdom, or what are you doing? And agreed 100%.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I talk about this stuff too, and why I like to teach about, take what I've learned and try to help other people, try to teach other people, not to tell you that I'm telling the truth, but just think about it, like think about this, think about that. And if you're interested in it, go research it yourself and learn it yourself. That's kind of what I'm all about, is like trying to uncover this stuff and trying to, there's so many like stereotypes that against it, and it's been pushed down. It's been a lot of these things have been pushed down. And one of the things that really helped me was recently, I forget the guy's name. Is it John Greenwald Jr. that does the FOIA? Is that his name?
Yeah, the Black Vault. Yep.
Yeah, they released a bunch of like CIA documents, and go back and read these old CIA documents about, they're talking about mind control, remote viewing, how the aura works, how telepathic works, all that. And it's like, I told you, I always thought, maybe it was mystical or maybe it was just learning these things, but here they're learning about it, and then they're telling us now, how many years later, it's old knowledge to them, and then they're now admitting to, hey, look, this was real the whole time. We just kind of have gotten away from it, especially in the Western world, where the mundane, the physical is all around us, and maybe the mystical and the spiritual has kind of gotten away from us. We lose it. And that's why I like to talk about this stuff and research it and learn about it myself, and then help other people. There's a Bible quote. I forget. Let's look it up. It is, there's actually a Bible quote. It's in Exodus. I lost it. But it's a Bible quote that says, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. And when I hear that, when I read that, I think about how, the word witch, it means a lot of different things. It means, a wise person, a sorcerer, a magician, a person that can bend their will, and with intention. And so if you break it down and think about like that, when they say, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live, what they mean is certain magicians that were so powerful. But it's like, which ones are you guys talking about? Are you talking about, the ones that you don't want to have the knowledge, or are you talking about the ones like, Freemasons or the elite that have these powers and they don't want the lesser people to know about it? I believe we called it the Rohan principle. What's worse, the fact that they are using the magic power and not letting us know how it works, or the fact that they want us to think that it's all just a bunch of hogwash, a whole bunch of, like make believe.
Yeah. The Rohan principle. So what's more terrifying? Are they actually using ritual magic against us, or do they believe it's real and it's a bunch of nonsense? Yeah. Which means that they're trying to convince us that it is real when it's absolutely not, which is more terrifying. Yeah. And that becomes the question. The question, again, of 2025 and going forward is, Peter Thiel just did a 4-day seminar on the Antichrist. It's like, bro, like, what? Like, some people have cited you as the Antichrist himself. And again, right, like, I'm not a dogmatic guy, but when you're talking about Christ consciousness and this type of stuff, and that aspect of, well, let's just talk about the Antichrist flippantly in a thing as I'm a tech billionaire that runs Palantir. I don't know, man. I think we're on. As usual, the Rohan principle plays heavily in a lot of the aspects of the modern day media. You're right.
Yeah, and I just had one more take. Talking about the Vatican and how what's down there, and how they were kind of collecting all this stuff. And then Diana Pasolka was talking about how she got invited to the Vatican Library to study, and she said there's over 5 miles of shelves, which just blows my mind. But then they say that magic relics are just kind of stacking up in the corner, and they don't know what to do with them. They don't really know how to categorize them, or where does this mystical chalice go in the room of other mystical chalices, or do we put it in how do we categorize it, how do we label it? And she was talking about how in order for you to get invited, and in order for you to do research there, they make you give them a list of the material that you want to view, and you send it back to them, and it takes them 3 months to get it for you. That's how much stuff is there, and how it's not a Dewey Decimal System. They have to go out and find it.
Yeah.
And how do you find this ancient tomb? Go ahead.
Yeah, just to curate that. Imagine, like, they're like, okay, you're like an acolyte in the basement. They never let you out or whatever. And I'm just being halfway tongue in cheek here. And they're like, okay, Matzel, here's your list of chalices and documents you got to go find from this and that. But again, that assumes we know what's down there, and we don't. So again, it is forbidden knowledge for sure. There's a bunch of stuff they've probably hidden from us. But I think it is a bunch of mundane stuff too. And so, as usual, the discernment aspect comes into this. And how do we bring this out to the, like it's shooting in the dark, very much like you're describing John Greenwald Jr. with the FOIAs. So he gets a breadcrumb, and then he shoots out some FOIAs to get information from the government on the breadcrumb. And then they, either confirm or deny or whatever. And then he appeals, and then, information comes out. I wonder if there's a process like that with the Vatican archive itself. And I think you're right. Imagine you're like, okay, go grab this goblet from, aisle 88, shelf 4. I mean, my goodness gracious. Yeah, here we go. Like it's a strange world we live in. I'll say that.
Yeah. How do I get a library card?
Yeah, exactly.
And then I was thinking too about just things about in pop culture. There's a show I watch called The Magicians, and how it's a fantasy show, and it's about these magicians at a school like Hogwarts, and they get trained, they go to school, they learn, and they have a curriculum and all that. But then they're the magicians, but then there's the people that are magicians, and maybe they don't pass the test, or maybe they don't even get invited to the school. And so they're underground. They start learning spells off the internet, and learning, meeting people off the internet and making their own kind of like an underground school, and they call themselves the Head Witches. I thought that was kind of cool because it kind of sets up the story for, the classical school children versus the outcasts that didn't make it into the school, and they're trying to do magic, but that kind of magic is dangerous because they're not being taught by a teacher. Follow me?
Yeah, 100%. Crazy enough, where I left off on the write-up is right where you're kind of touching on. I'm going to read this. It's just a quick paragraph, but it is like the fourth paragraph down. The write-up, Troubled Minds newsletter, check it out. So the antiquities themselves function as what could be called consciousness anchors, objects that house specific patterns of awareness or intent. Each carved stone, corroded coin, or deteriorating book represents a node in a vast network that spans both time and dimensional space. When researchers catalog these items, they're not just creating academic records, they're mapping a living system of interconnected, quote, entities that have been waiting decades or centuries for someone to provide them with the attention they need to maybe even reactivate, as Derek was saying earlier. Wild, 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 wild. What else you got?
If you find a book in the woods wrapped in human skin and says "do not read" all over it, don't read the book.
Do not read. Absolutely, do not read. Yeah.
But I think it's important that we learn and we research together, and also that we practice together what we learn and see how it works. But I feel the only thing that I would say is that we have to learn how to take breaks as well, because too much of one thing. So learn and study and practice, but take breaks every now and then. I read a lot of these esoteric books, but every now and then I like to read a good fantasy to kind of get my mind off of it. But it is important that we take breaks and not push ourselves. But as we go together, as we learn together, we got to teach each other and help each other out, because obviously, there's information that they have that they don't want us to know about. And I feel that could be dangerous as well. Good show tonight, Mike. Thank you.
And great call. You were the best. Appreciate you very much. Tell Lacey we said hi, and you have a great night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks, bro. You know him. You love him. That's Matthew in California. Temple of the Owl is the name of the podcast. templeoftheowl.com. Check that out. Or troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down, and it says follow Matzal. We affectionately call him Matzal. That's a spirit animal. And yes, indeed, please go give him a follow on all the places. And this is what this is about, right? It's about, and don't forget, at its core, what this has always been is about human inspiration in some way or another, right? You see what a knucklehead like me rambling on into the night about wild things can create. And like I said, create things, don't destroy things. And what I mean by destroying things is and this is why we're metaphorically, spiritually empty, in my opinion, in 2025. And emptying. Because if you go buy things, it's consuming. It is destruction at its core. It is entropy. But if you create things, these are ideas. These are relationships. These are human resonant energies, as I like to talk about. You get it? It's complicated, but also at its core, it's very simple. Recognize what's important. Thanks for the call. Matt Sal, you're the best. Appreciate you very much. Anything to add, James? We'll go to Molly and we'll wrap this up.
Oh, just great call. Two things. I do agree that the acting on what you learned is important. And it's funny because I agree you need to take breaks and things. And because I do that, I don't listen to all paranormal nonfiction content all the time. I have some friends that do video game streams, and I'll go and hang out there and listen and chat in there for a while each day, almost every day. And it's important, and I'm glad I can do that. And so it does help. And so learn, but also take care of yourself as well.
Yeah, amen. Too much, which is again the limits of forbidden knowledge is personal, is subjective. Shout out to our new friend over there east of the Rockies. What's going on? Let's go to Molly in I'm not sure where, on Discord. Molly on Discord, you're on Troubled Minds. How are you? And go right ahead.
Well, can you hear me okay?
Yep, loud and clear. You sound great. What's on
I'm
your
in
mind?
Virginia, by the way.
Molly in Virginia. You're on Troubled Minds.
Yeah. So I had a few different thoughts on like forbidden knowledge, and like as I was sitting here listening, it just bounces back and forth. But one that stuck out the most was, when we're kids or now as adults having kids, we kind of protect, or we have been protected from knowing certain things because our minds cannot process it. So thinking of it as a whole collective, like maybe we're just not at the right age yet to know, I guess, I don't know, not the age that we're taught here on in this earth, but like it touches on everything that I've heard from different people tonight. So that's one way that I look at it. And then what if, when we do find out certain knowledge, like what happens then? It's like, I don't know, the vacuum or something. I don't know. But that was pretty much, I know you're running out of time, so I don't want to keep you, but I do appreciate you listening to me for a minute.
No, I'm not glad to have you. And we'll go late if you got more. It's okay. So I want to comment on that. And I think, the vacuum cleaner and this type of stuff, like it's a good example metaphorically is, the dogs are afraid of the vacuum cleaners and they get over it eventually. And this is that technological space of Arthur C. Clarke and, magic and technology is subjective and all the rest of that. And it comes to play in these conversations. And when you look at the world just a bit differently, and as you're describing, I think, and let me ask the question to follow up to make sure I fully understand what you said, that you're talking about sort of the Great Wheel, like the age of Aquarius or something like that. Like we're not prepared to understand what the next age brings. Is that kind of what you were saying to me?
Right. Or how our human minds, like our flesh, we're unable to, we cannot concept the thought, of what it is. There was a previous caller who had spoke about that too. Like we can't understand it. Like Jesus, they say in the Bible, Jesus was sent here because like that's what our brain could conceive. Like that's what we could understand. So I don't know. That's kind of my thought on that right now is like, we can't understand here in this realm, what it is that knowledge is, but I don't know. Also, another thought that I had is like, when I was in high school, or middle school, we read a book, called The Giver. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And the one person was designated to have all of those memories. Like, is that something like we have now? Does one person have all of those, all of that knowledge, that they can't share with us? I don't know. I couldn't imagine having all of that.
How would you live with that? Like, how would you live with that? Like Matsell said too, imagine having all the knowledge of the esoteric world at scale with AI systems and all the rest. Let's say they've, chronicled the ancient Assyrian, the tablets and the Vatican archive, and sitting on that and maybe recognizing profound truths and not sharing it. I don't know, to me, right, the transparency is key, but also knowledge is power, as Matt was saying as well. So, I mean, you can see where some of this information has been hoarded and kept away from us and obfuscated and, changed. And I mean, I think it's why, not just I ramble a lot and kind of free think into the ether here, but also why these ideas resonate in 2025, because esoteric stuff should be like, nah, come on. That's old superstitious stuff, Mike. Stop. But then we have Carl Jung, Joseph Campbell, and all this stuff, and the things you're describing as well. It's why we're here asking these questions of each other, to kind of counterbalance what we've seen or what we've heard or what we might believe. I mean, welcome to it. That's why we talk about these ideas. Fantastic stuff. What else you got?
One more thought was, so I've been incarcerated before, and while I was incarcerated, like I find myself, and I being around other people in that place, I'm a little more, I think, intelligent, IQ wise, probably. And I'm not saying I was better than anyone else. We were all in the same place, but I couldn't have an intellectual conversation with majority of the people that I was in there with, you know what I mean? So I would find myself, I just stayed to myself a lot, but when I would go to the library, the things it's so limited to the things that you can access. And and I know when you're incarcerated, you can't have access to the internet and, daily things that we're used to out here, but being in there, like you should be able to have access to certain things, of knowledge. But so it's kind of like the same thing. They control what you have access to. Even when you want to get a book sent to you or of something, it has to be approved. You know what I mean? And it's, I don't know, like, is it something like that? You know, it's kind of crazy to think about it either way. Controlled how much knowledge you can gain while you're incarcerated is crazy.
Exactly, and it's a perfect example of that scale, right? So every sort of step up or step down in society through those control mechanisms is doing the same thing. Our school system, right? Our corporate structures, like our government, it's all the same. It's just sort of slightly different in terms of the information we can learn about them and what we do. And also shout out our new friend East of the Rockies, that they called earlier. He very smartly said, look, the information is out there. Like, if you want to learn it, you can go find it and you can learn it. You can practice it. Shout out Matsal. But the point becomes, we're so obfuscated and inundated with the nonsensical modern propaganda that people are like out there going, you know, robot rights in the streets. And it's not happening yet, but that's my prediction for the future. This is coming. And so we're, once again, if we don't talk to each other in this capacity, we seem like we're crazy people. But these ideas are out there, and they're to be had, and they're to be shared, and well, welcome to it. That's why we do this, and you're welcome anytime. What else you got?
One last thought. I guess I was just thinking of it, you know, of all the things that I've heard be discussed, you know, here, like in reference to the AI. So what, is there an AI or a database where all of this information that we know of is fed into, and they come up with their own idea of what it is? I'm not sure, because I've heard of different like Chat GPT conversations on Reels and whatnot of what they think, you know, whatever their beliefs are. I don't know. So I've just gained a little bit of information about that, but you know, what happens when that happens? I don't know if it's happened or not. So
yeah, it's once again, it's complicated. There are different large language models which are trained with different parameters and weights, but they're all trained on the internet, which is the unfortunate part. And because there's so much information that's the bootstrap era of modern humanity, the last, you know, couple 300 years of scientific innovation and medical progress and all the things, right, that move the lifespan forward from the ancient ways. But also the issue is that a lot of that stuff has been, once again, sort of hidden behind paywalls, hidden behind not put fully on the internet. And then so we have, instead of these large language models, these AIs, whether it's Claude, whether it's this or that, you can put guardrails or weight them differently, whether they're better at math or science or whatever, or prose or whatever, creativity. But it still remains that we've trained these actual entities, AI entities, on like Reddit slop and political propaganda and that kind of garbage, which is unfortunate because, well, here we are. And this is the future, but the future is based on the last 20 or 30 years of the internet being a polarized place. So it is complicated. It is changing, and hopefully we'll have a paradigm shift in that regard, but it's moving so fast. I can't even predict even weeks, let alone months, of what's about to happen next. There's new releases every day, but that's the short answer, but it's incredibly complicated. And I think that follow Brian Remele, Roemmele, on Twitter X, and he talks about this stuff all the time. And he's trying to find old VHS tapes. He's dumpster diving to train his AI, our AI, on that space of Americana, on that space of innovation, instead of that Reddit slop that is just grotesque. It's flame wars and people calling each other names and binary politics. It's that's not what humans are, and it's unfortunate, but welcome to it. Appreciate the call. I can ramble on. If you got anything else, Molly is Virginia, right? Molly in Virginia. Thank you for listening. Thank you for calling. I know you pop in here, and anything else you got? And if it's just good night, that's okay too. Thank you. Thanks for staying up late with us.
That was ad. I think I lost connection there for a second, but no, that was pretty much it. Well, I guess one last thing. I was thinking about it as you were talking, with the AI. I guess back to what I said in the beginning of this conversation, maybe we're in the newborn stage of the AI, and wonder if eventually we will be keeping forbidden knowledge from it.
I think we are. I think you're poignant in that comment, because that's what's happening. It's like been fed the worst of humanity into these things. And so, given sentience, and I'm not sure it's possible with an AI system, but if you give it the last 30 years of the internet, 35 years, whatever it is, and then see how we developed from UFOs and boobs built the internet to flame wars and us hating each other and calling each other names, and like even calling for assassinations and things because we disagree, that is not a good representation of humanity. But that is what it's been trained on. But yeah, we'll keep looking at this. We'll keep talking about this. Thank you again for the call. Thanks for staying up late with us.
Thank you for listening. Have a good night.
You too. Take care. You were the best. That's Molly in Virginia. There you go. This is another plug the Discord, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. Come meet all these amazing people. Like I said, there's very smart people out there with very smart ideas that want to talk about them, that want to share, that want to consider why the world seems inverted. You know how you come meet the group? troubledminds.org. Right on top, there's a blue button, join our Discord. It's a chat client. It's a voice client. It's completely free. You can call into the show with it anywhere in the world, or also just chat, just kind of hang out and listen and chat, old school chat room type of thing, persistent chat. Come say hi, come meet the rest of us. And like I said, we seem like ogres, or at least I do. But it's ideas. It's about ideas. Like I said, if we're consuming things, it's destructive. If we're creating things, it's the opposite. So who are you going to be? How are we going to be collectively? Shout out Daryl for the Margaret Mead quote. James, anything to add? And we'll wrap this up.
And Mike's okay. He's not bad. I'm just kidding.
Hey,
He's
stop it.
great.
Stop it.
But great calls from everyone. And I think this is a great topic. And a lot of great calls. I don't really have much more to add. Just it's amazing to think about. And it's making me think about, the experience I had with finding those books and then covering them in my shows and then not covering parts of them. And that doesn't mean I don't think they should be available to people that maybe they feel that they're ready to look at that stuff. It's just that I wasn't comfortable sharing them on a show in my space necessarily. So, that, like I said earlier, that line of what should be, how much should be shared and all that, I think that's also individual as well in what we can all handle.
The subjective space of this, which, by the way, the subjective space of this is wide and varied and scaled and fractal. And how many humans are there on the planet? Well said, James, all that. Thank you for all the amazing callers tonight. Thanks for all the great chat. Thanks for being nice to each other. Like I said, it is the rule here. We can disagree and still be friends tomorrow. There's no reason we need to scorch earth every human communication that ever happens on the planet, though they want us to. It's not necessary. We can agree, we can disagree, we can consider ideas outside of our personal subjective paradigm, and then come back tomorrow and consider more. You decide. I'm not the arbiter of truth. That's literally what we've always been since the beginning. So, follow James, the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds. You know him, you love him. Again, the glue of the show. Not just that, he's a brilliant writer. Go check out his podcast. Check out the radio show on the radio station. Let's support each other. Also, by the way, while you're there, SalcidoParanormal.com. It's SALSIDO Paranormal. Or go to troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down and look at all these amazing people. There's a wall of people there that have helped us over the years that are creating other things, derivative things, maybe not even derivative, other things that are tangent to what we're doing, different ideas. That's the point, right? Am I right? Am I right that that's the point? Help our friends. Again, if you haven't spent if you've got any value from these conversations over the years, then you're not following our friends in all the places, you're hurting my feelings. I keep saying it, and it's true. Please go follow them. Thank you again for staying up late and being part of this and caring about conversations that the mainstream freaks out about, that they don't want to know about, that they don't... Everything doesn't have to be freaking political. That's that. If you want to help us, help our friends. If you want to help us directly spread the word, let people know a conversation's happening, but we're not going to tell you who to vote for. We're not going to run down their narratives. we're going to talk about what's interesting to us. Esoteric. As I like to call myself, an esoteric futurist. It's a new term. I don't even think it's real, but it makes sense. You got it? Spread the word. Let people know that you don't have to listen to Jesse Waters on Fox News or Caitlin Collins on CNN. You don't have to. You can. I don't recommend it unless you're just kind of seeing what the mainstream is trying to tell you, but you get what I mean. What's up with Jesse Waters, by the way? Jesse Watery eyes? Why is he always crying, that guy? Anyway, too many eye drops for another time. That's it. If you want to help us directly, spread the word. Like I said, troubledfans.com. You can buy Troubled Minds merch, the hats, the shirts, all the things. But listen to the podcast feed. That's the best way to do it. It's monetized, limited commercial interruption. Just go listen. And there's 1,100 episodes, 7.5 years of blood, sweat, and tears about all things esoteric, futuristic, and beyond. As we finish, it goes like this. Thank you for staying up late with us. I appreciate it very much. This is for each and every one of you out there listening to the conversation and contributing. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night.